millennia, the world has been hiding secrets. Mysteries are so profound they defy explanation. Ancient structures that seem impossible to have been built with the technology of their time. Lost civilizations, their knowledge is buried beneath layers of time and silence. Events that shook the foundations of history, leaving us with more questions than answers. What if everything we thought we knew about the past is wrong? What if the truth is far stranger and more awe-inspiring than we ever imagined? So sit back, relax, and let's unravel the enigma of history's biggest mysteries, one discovery at a time. Hidden deep within the arid heart of northeastern Brazil lies a place of both awe and wonder. Serra da Pivara. Its landscape is like a vast sun-baked canvas painted with sharp rock formations and an almost surreal otherworldly beauty. The jagged hills rise from the earth like ancient sentinels, their faces etched with time. Beneath the unforgiving sun, this desert plateau is not only an ecological marvel, but a repository of untold stories, stories that have captivated archaeologists and historians for decades. Yet many of these stories remain locked within the stones awaiting discovery. Serra da Pivara is home to one of the most significant archaeological sites in the world. A collection of rock shelters and cave paintings, some dating back more than 25,000 years. These caves, preserved by the region's dry climate, house intricate depictions of early human life, many of which seem to portray creatures that no longer walk this earth. Giant mammals like the mastodon and the megatherium, long extinct by the time modern civilization began to form. The sheer age of these paintings raises questions. How did these early humans capture the essence of creatures they may never have seen in their lifetime? How could they have known the landscapes that would shape our understanding of the world? For decades, mainstream archaeology has attributed the art and settlements of Serra da Pivara to early hunter-gatherer societies, whose ancestors crossed the Bering Land Bridge into the Americas around 12,000 years ago. Yet there is evidence that suggests something more, something that challenges the accepted timeline of human migration across the globe. Radiocarbon dating of some artifacts has produced results that are startlingly old, pushing the history of human presence in the Americas far beyond the conventional 12,000-year mark. Could the inhabitants of Serra da Pivara have arrived here much earlier than previously thought, possibly even before the end of the last ice age? Some researchers have speculated that there might have been contact between the ancient peoples of the Americas and other distant cultures, perhaps even from the Pacific or the distant reaches of the world. One theory suggests that the early inhabitants of Serra da Pivara may have had advanced knowledge of astronomy, a possibility hinted at by the alignment of certain rock formations and the positioning of their cave art. Could these ancient peoples have shared a deep connection to celestial events far beyond what we now understand? But even more curious are the unexplained elements of the site. The symbols that do not fit the patterns of known prehistoric art. Some of the carvings appear to depict abstract, almost cryptic symbols that seem to transcend the typical representations of hunting or daily life. Could these be expressions of something more complex, a form of early writing or a coded system meant to pass down knowledge or warn of dangers yet to come? The potential for lost knowledge buried in the recesses of Serra da Pivara is immense, and it leaves one wondering, were these early people trying to communicate across time? Despite numerous studies, much of the deeper meaning behind the art and the full extent of the site's history remain elusive. How did these early humans develop the skill and foresight to create such sophisticated artworks, and what purpose did they serve? Were they part of ritualistic practices, or did they represent a more personal form of expression meant to capture fleeting moments in time? As researchers continue to sift through the layers of history, Serra da Pivara stands as both a window into the past and a challenge to our understanding of it. What if the true story of human migration, adaptation, and culture is still being written here in these ancient caves? Could there be even older secrets hidden beneath the soil waiting to be uncovered? The mystery of Serra da Pivara remains far from solved, leaving us with more questions than answers. What remains to be discovered in this vast forgotten land? Only time will tell. As we move from the arid beauty of Serra da Pivara, where ancient art and the footprints of early humans still whisper their secrets, we now journey to the frozen plains of what is now Russia. an equally mysterious, yet vastly different place. Here, beneath the cold earth of the upper Volga River basin, lie some of the most perplexing archaeological discoveries of the Ice Age, the Sungir burials. In a site that at first glance seems eerily quiet and still, there exists an extraordinary record of early human life, one that raises more questions than answers. Sungir, a name that resonates within the study of prehistoric cultures, is not just another burial site. It is the site of a discovery that stretches our understanding of early human behavior and social complexity. Here, in a set of graves more than 30,000 years old, lie the remains of two individuals. Their bodies are surrounded by an astonishing array of artifacts. These were not simple burials, they were extraordinary rituals, a glimpse into a world that has long since vanished. The most striking aspect of the Sungir burials is the sheer wealth of materials buried alongside these ancient people. At first glance, one might think they were looking at the burial of a powerful leader or a revered elder. But these remains belong to individuals, both of whom were likely quite young, who appear to have been buried with extraordinary care and an apparent reverence. The bodies were adorned with thousands of meticulously crafted beads, each one made from bone, ivory, and other materials strung together to form elaborate necklaces and headpieces. For people living in the harsh conditions of the Ice Age, these adornments were not only a sign of wealth, but also of something deeper, something perhaps sacred or ritualistic. It is the sheer scale of these artifacts that is so perplexing. Thousands of beads arranged with a precision and purpose that suggests an understanding of craftsmanship and social organization far beyond what was once thought possible for people of this era. Some of the beads were made from mammoth ivory, a material that was not only difficult to work with, but also symbolically significant in many ancient cultures. The presence of such materials, along with their intricate designs, suggests that the people of Sungir possessed a complex social structure, one that could support specialized roles for artisans, traders, and other craftspeople. What then do these objects symbolize? Were they purely decorative, or did they serve a deeper spiritual purpose? Some scholars have speculated that the beads were part of a ritualistic process, perhaps representing the spiritual journey of the deceased. Others have suggested that the rich material culture at Sungir points to the existence of an elite class within this ancient society, one that held power or influence beyond the grave. But this is far from certain. Could the beads have been the symbol of a larger social network that extended beyond the immediate tribe, a form of early trade or cultural exchange? As we delve deeper into the mystery of Sungir, another unsettling question arises. Why were the individuals buried here treated with such care and attention? The burial of two young individuals, a male and a female, with such a profusion of wealth, seems to defy conventional understanding. Were these people important figures within their community? If so, why were they both so young? Could they have been sacrifices chosen to be buried in such a manner, as part of a ritual or religious ceremony? Or did their graves represent something else entirely, perhaps a reflection of an early understanding of life after death, a reverence for the journey to the beyond? And then there's the positioning of the bodies themselves. The male and female individuals were not buried alone, but placed together, almost as though they were bound in some eternal connection. This raises yet another possibility that these individuals may have had a relationship, perhaps a familial one, suggesting that the people of Sungir had a concept of kinship or companionship that transcended death. The practice of burying two people together in this way, especially when considering the lack of other similarly complex burials from the same era, hints at a cultural practice that remains largely unexplained. The fact that these individuals were buried with such a vast array of ornaments, far more elaborate than the vast majority of burials from the Upper Paleolithic period, challenges our previous understanding of human societies of the time. Could it be that the people of Sungir had access to knowledge or traditions that were unique in their time, perhaps shared only among a select group of individuals? Some theorists have even suggested that the burial practices at Sungir may have been influenced by a form of shamanistic belief, one that sought to guide the deceased to the afterlife with the help of their possessions. Yet even as scholars continue to study the site, the mysteries of Sungir remain largely unsolved. The existence of such elaborate burials, complete with so many valuable materials, raises the question of how and why these early humans were able to accumulate such wealth. Was it simply a reflection of their environment? One where the hunt for mammoths and other large game was a dangerous but highly valued endeavor, or did these artifacts represent something more? A spiritual currency that transcended the mundane concerns of daily life. As we continue to explore the mysteries of Sungir, one question remains at the forefront of our minds. What other secrets lie hidden beneath the earth of this ancient burial site? Could there be more to this story, more undiscovered artifacts, more clues about the lives and beliefs of these long-gone people waiting to be uncovered by the next generation of archaeologists? Only time will tell, but for now, the Sungir burials stand as a testament to the depth of human mystery and the complexity of our ancient ancestors. As we move further back in time, we find ourselves drawn to the enigmatic Tel Banat, a site in modern-day northern Palestine where an astonishing structure stands. A massive white monument that seems to echo across the centuries, its purpose still a mystery. The monument itself, constructed of limestone, rises from the earth with an unsettling presence, as if to demand attention. Its scale and precision suggest a society capable of sophisticated planning. Yet little is known about the people who built it. What purpose did this white monument serve, and why was it left behind? Tel Bat, unlike other ancient sites, does not offer the typical markers of civilization that archaeologists have come to expect. There are no grand palaces, no elaborate temples. Instead, this monumental structure is a stark, almost austere presence, an isolated, unfinished mass of stone. It stands as a silent witness to a forgotten past, one that defies easy classification. When it was first discovered in the mid-10th century, it sent ripples through the archaeological community, prompting a flurry of theories and debates. But to this day, no single theory has managed to fully explain its significance. The monument itself is built in a way that suggests a deep understanding of construction techniques. It is aligned with the cardinal directions, a common practice in many ancient cultures, often linked to religious or astronomical purposes. The structure consists of large, carefully cut blocks of white limestone, arranged in a form that hints at some kind of symbolic or ritualistic function. Its size alone, more than 25 m in diameter, suggests that it was not just a simple building, but something much grander, perhaps even monumental in scope. Some archaeologists have speculated that the monument might have been a ceremonial site, perhaps dedicated to the gods of a long-lost culture. The idea of a place of worship is tempting, especially when considering the scale and the material choice, which could have been symbolic in itself. The use of white limestone gleaming in the harsh desert sun could represent purity or the divine, a trait commonly found in sacred architecture across different cultures. But even this theory has its challenges. If Tel Banat was a religious site, why does it appear so unfinished? Why was it abandoned long before it reached its intended form? Others have suggested that the monument could have had a more practical function, perhaps serving as an astronomical observatory similar to other megalithic structures found across the ancient world. Its alignment with celestial bodies hints at this possibility. The ancient peoples who lived here, like others in the region, were deeply attuned to the movements of the stars and planets, and many built monuments to track these movements. Could this structure have been designed to chart the heavens, or even to predict important seasonal events like solar stresses or eclipses? The idea that the monument was a form of calendar is an intriguing one, but there are no clear signs of such usage in the archaeological record. No ancient inscriptions, no written records, nothing to explain the true purpose of the site. As we continue to unravel the layers of history surrounding Tel Banat, one cannot help but wonder whether the structure might have had an entirely different significance, one that we are only beginning to understand. Some fringe theories suggest that the monument could have been part of an even older and now forgotten civilization, one that predated the well-known cultures of the Bronze and Iron Ages. Could Burnett be a remnant of a lost people, one whose legacy was erased by time, war, or some other catastrophe? The idea of an advanced culture existing long before the rise of known civilizations is an alluring thought, yet one that remains speculative at best. There is also the possibility that the monument was something more personal, even familial, rather than a grand ceremonial or astronomical structure. Some have suggested that it could be a tomb or a memorial for a figure of great importance, perhaps a king or a warrior who was revered by their people. The sheer effort involved in its construction, unlike any other structure of its time, would suggest that it was meant to honor someone or something. But again, no burial has been found, no artifacts to suggest the remains of an individual of high rank. Without such evidence, it remains difficult to pinpoint the true purpose of the monument. The absence of any written records or inscriptions only deepens the mystery. Unlike the ancient civilizations of Egypt or Mesopotamia, whose rulers and achievements were immortalized in stone, the people of Tel Banat left no clear message behind. Perhaps they did not feel the need to record their history in writing, relying instead on the monumental structures they built to carry their story through time. Or perhaps their story was lost long before we ever had the chance to find it. Even today, as archaeologists and historians continue to study Tel Banat, the true purpose of the monument remains elusive. Some theorists have suggested that there may be hidden chambers within the structure, or that it was once part of a much larger complex that has since been lost to erosion and time. Yet no one has uncovered anything substantial that could shed light on the monument's original function. The mystery of its purpose and the identity of those who built it remains unsolved. As we stand before the monument at Tel Banat, we are reminded that history is often far more complex and layered than we can imagine. What other mysteries lie hidden beneath the surface of this ancient site? What stories buried in the sands of time have yet to be uncovered? The answers, it seems, are lost to the ages, waiting for the next breakthrough. The next discovery to bring us closer to understanding the enigmatic white monument and the forgotten people who built it. Perhaps the most profound question is, what other hidden secrets are scattered across the world, waiting to be unearthed, each one challenging our understanding of the past? Tel Banat, like so many other ancient sites, may hold the key to a deeper, more profound understanding of human history. But until we can uncover its true meaning, the monument will remain a silent, unyielding testament to a people and a culture that once thrived, now lost to time. As we continue our exploration of history's most compelling and unsolved mysteries, we now turn our attention to a remote desert landscape in the north of modern-day Libya, where the winds have swept over an ancient, forgotten city, unexplained. Tucked away in the heart of the Sahara, unexplained is a site that has confounded archaeologists and historians for decades. Unlike many ancient sites that owe their fame to monumental structures or large-scale civilizations, unexplained stands as a quiet, almost hidden testament to a people whose story has been almost completely erased from history. At first glance, the site appears to be just another scattering of ruins in a vast, desolate desert. But as researchers have begun to carefully study the remains of unexplained, it becomes clear that this was once a thriving and complex settlement. What makes unexplained truly unique is the fact that it was constructed by a mysterious culture, the Gamants, a people whose existence and influence were not widely known until modern archaeology uncovered their secrets. The ruins of unexplained lie scattered across a series of low hills with evidence of stone walls, dwellings, and even sophisticated water management systems. These features suggest that the inhabitants of this desert city were no mere nomads. They were skilled engineers and planners capable of taming an environment that seems inhospitable to human life. The most striking feature of the site is the series of large rectangular buildings with intricate layouts, some of which appear to be multi-story. The scale and design of these structures hint at a well-organized and highly developed society, one that had access to resources and knowledge far beyond what one would expect for a civilization in such a remote and arid region. Despite its impressive architecture, unexplained's purpose and the identity of its builders remain shrouded in mystery. Archaeologists have dated the site to approximately the 5th century BC, placing it at the height of the Garamantian civilization. The Gamants themselves were an enigmatic people known only through fragments of ancient texts and the accounts of outside civilizations, such as the Romans. The Garamantes were a powerful and wealthy group, controlling large portions of the Saharan trade routes and connecting sub-Saharan Africa to the Mediterranean world. Yet little is known about their origins, culture, or even their language. The ruins of Unanswered offer tantalizing clues, but they also raise more questions than answers. The most remarkable feature of Unanswered is its advanced water management system. The city was built around an intricate network of wells, cisterns, and channels that tapped into the underground aquifers of the Sahara. These water systems, designed to collect and store rainwater, allowed the inhabitants of Unanswered to thrive in an otherwise arid environment. Some scholars have suggested that the Garamantes may have used this knowledge of water management as a way to control the desert, establishing an oasis city that could serve as a vital hub for trade and cultural exchange. But how did they possess such advanced knowledge, especially in an era when much of the world was still dependent on rudimentary methods of irrigation? Even more perplexing are the signs of a rapidly abandoned city. Though Unanswered appears to have flourished for several centuries, evidence suggests that it was suddenly and inexplicably abandoned, leaving behind a well-preserved ghost town. What caused the fall of Unanswered? Was it a shift in trade routes, a collapse in the Garamantes' political system, or perhaps an environmental catastrophe? Some have speculated that the site was abandoned due to a prolonged drought, while others suggest that a sudden invasion or internal strife may have led to the city's swift downfall. Yet no conclusive evidence has been found to explain why such a once thriving settlement was left to crumble into the desert sands. In addition to the city's advanced water systems, archaeologists have uncovered a wealth of artifacts at Unanswered, including pottery, tools, and sculptures. These artifacts provide insight into the daily life of the Garamantes, as well as their connections to neighboring cultures. The pottery found at the site suggests a society that was heavily influenced by Mediterranean styles, while the presence of exotic goods such as olive oil and wine indicates that Unanswered was not just a remote outpost, but a key player in the trade networks that connected Africa, Europe, and the Middle East. Yet, even as scholars begin to piece together the fragments of the Garamantes story, much about Unanswered remains elusive. How did the Garamantes come to possess such advanced architectural and engineering knowledge? Was their civilization influenced by other more well-known cultures of the ancient world? Or did they develop their skills independently? And why did Unanswered, a city that seemed poised for greatness, disappear so suddenly and without explanation? Some theories suggest that the Garamantes may have had contact with other ancient civilizations, such as the Egyptians, the Phoenicians, or even the lost civilizations of the Americas. While there is no definitive proof of such contact, the advanced nature of the Garamantes' water systems and architecture has led some to speculate that they may have shared knowledge with or learned from other cultures that had mastered similar techniques. Others believe that Unanswered may have been part of an even older civilization, one that predates the Garamantes by thousands of years. Could it be that the ruins of Unanswered are the remnants of a lost society, one whose knowledge and achievements were passed down through generations and ultimately absorbed by the Garamantes? Or could the city have been the site of an entirely different culture, one that has yet to be identified or understood? As we stand before the remains of Unanswered, we are reminded of how much history remains hidden beneath the shifting sands of time. What other secrets lie buried in the Sahara, waiting to be uncovered by the next generation of archaeologists? Will the mysteries of Unanswered, its rise, its fall, and the people who built it ever be fully understood? For now, the answers remain elusive, and the true story of Unanswered continues to fade into the desert, its mysteries still waiting to be unraveled. As we journey through the unraveling threads of history, we now find ourselves in the heart of the Indus Valley, at a site that holds one of the most perplexing genetic puzzles of ancient human history, Rocky. Located in the state of Haryana, India, Rakhigarhi is one of the largest and most significant Harappan sites ever discovered. It has yielded a wealth of archaeological findings, artifacts, tools, and the remains of a once thriving city. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of Rakhigarhi is the revelation hidden within its ancient bones. A mystery that could rewrite much of what we thought we knew about human migration and ancient civilizations. Rakhigarhi, once a major urban center in the Harappan civilization, is thought to have flourished around 5,000 years ago during the peak of the Indus Valley civilization. Like its more famous counterparts Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, it was an advanced society with a highly organized urban infrastructure complete with meticulously planned streets, drainage systems, and a thriving trade network. The city's layout alone suggests a remarkable understanding of urban planning, while its artifacts reflect a sophisticated culture with expertise in metallurgy, pottery, and craftsmanship. Yet it is not the buildings or the objects that have captured the imagination of researchers, but rather the genetic legacy left behind by the people who once called Rikyari home. In 2018, an extraordinary breakthrough was made when scientists successfully extracted ancient DNA from human remains found at Rocky Gari. This genetic material provided new insights into the population of the Indus Valley civilization. But it also uncovered a significant anomaly, a genetic gap that continues to puzzle geneticists and historians alike. The genetic findings from Rakhigarhi revealed that the Harappan people, while closely related to other ancient populations in South Asia, exhibited a distinct genetic makeup that set them apart from both modern South Asian populations and other ancient groups in the region. While it was long assumed that the Indus Valley civilization was a melting pot of ancient human populations, this new genetic evidence suggested that the Harappans were far more isolated than previously thought. Their genetic profile appeared to be the result of a unique and earlier wave of human migration that had not been fully integrated into the larger gene pool of South Asia. But this discovery raised more questions than answers. If the people of Rocky Gari were genetically distinct, where did they come from? Why were they so isolated? And what caused their eventual disappearance from the genetic record? Was this genetic gap the result of a lost civilization? Or did it represent a shift in human migration patterns, one that we are only beginning to understand? To answer these questions, we must look beyond the traditional narratives of ancient migration. The prevailing theory for much of the 20th century was that the Indus Valley civilization was the result of a gradual blending of various ancient populations from the Near East and South Asia. This theory suggested that the people of the Indus Valley were descended from migrants who arrived from the Iranian Plateau or Central Asia, mixing with indigenous South Asian groups along the way. However, the genetic evidence from Rikyari complicates this story. The Harappans appear to have shared a closer genetic affinity with the people of ancient Iran. But they were not as closely related to the populations of the Iranian Plateau or Central Asia as previously believed. In fact, the Harappan genetic signature does not align perfectly with any of the known ancient populations, creating what researchers have called a genetic gap in the region's human history. The presence of this gap suggests that the Harappans may have come from a different migration wave, one that did not fully mix with other ancient populations until much later. Could there have been an earlier wave of human migration into the subcontinent, one that left behind a distinctive genetic legacy? Some scholars have even proposed that the genetic gap could be the result of an isolated population, perhaps even a forgotten civilization that lived in the Indus Valley long before the rise of the Harappan cities. Could Rakyari represent the remnants of an older pre-Harappan culture whose genetic signature was gradually diluted as newer groups arrived in the region? If this theory is true, it would mean that the Harappans were not the original inhabitants of the region, but rather the heirs to an older population whose cultural and genetic legacy has been lost to history. Other researchers have suggested that the genetic gap may be the result of a population bottleneck or a genetic drift where a small group of people became isolated and their genes became more concentrated over time. This could explain why the Harappans have a genetic profile that is distinct from both modern South Asians and other ancient groups. It would also provide an explanation for the eventual disappearance of the Harappan civilization, which after reaching its peak seems to have vanished mysteriously, leaving behind little more than the remains of their cities. Despite these theories, the true origin of the genetic gap remains elusive. The archaeological record offers tantalizing clues, seals, tools, and pottery that point to a highly advanced society. But it does not provide enough information to fully explain the genetic anomalies that have been uncovered. What is clear, however, The people of Rakyuri were part of a civilization that was both connected to and isolated from the broader currents of ancient human history. They left behind a genetic legacy that has yet to be fully understood, a legacy that may hold the key to unraveling the mysteries of human migration and cultural development in South Asia. As we contemplate the significance of Rakyurhe and its genetic gap, we are reminded of how much there is still to discover about the ancient world. What was the true nature of the people who once inhabited this city? How did their genetic profile come to be? And what can it tell us about the larger patterns of human migration in prehistory? And perhaps most intriguingly, what other mysteries lie hidden in the DNA of ancient populations, waiting to be uncovered by future generations of scientists and historians? For now, the genetic gap at Rakyurhe remains one of the great unsolved puzzles of ancient history. The answers may lie buried in the sands of time, waiting for the right breakthrough to bring them to light. Until then, the mystery endures, challenging our understanding of the past and inviting us to wonder just how much of our history is still hidden from view. As we move further through the tapestry of ancient mysteries, we now find ourselves in a place of stunning beauty and incredible complexity. Baalbek is located in present-day Lebanon, known for its colossal ruins and its association with Roman and Phoenician gods. Baalbek is a site that has captured the fascination of historians, archaeologists, and explorers for centuries. But beneath the towering columns of the Temple of Jupiter and the sprawling ruins that draw so many to this sacred city lies a hidden enigma, the Baalbek subfoundation. The subfoundation is perhaps the most mysterious and least understood part of the site. Buried beneath the more visible layers of the Temple of Jupiter, it consists of massive stone blocks, some weighing as much as 800 tons. These stones are not just large, they are enormous. So large that modern technology struggles to move them. The sheer scale of these foundations raises a multitude of questions. How were these blocks quarried and transported thousands of years ago? Who had the knowledge and capability to move and precisely place stones of such magnitude? And perhaps most perplexing of all, why were they placed in the first place? What was their true purpose? To fully grasp the significance of these questions, we must first look at the site itself. Baalbek was originally a Phoenician religious center dedicated to the god Baal before it was transformed into a grand Roman sanctuary. Over the centuries, the city was expanded and embellished with monumental architecture, culminating in the vast Temple of Jupiter built in the 1st century BC. The temple, with its towering columns and intricate carvings, was a marvel of Roman engineering. Yet beneath this temple lies something that defies explanation. A set of foundations so massive that they seem almost out of place for the era in which they were constructed. The stones that make up the subfoundation are not just large by ancient standards. They are unprecedented in their size. Some of the blocks measure more than 19 ft, 5.88 m in length, and weigh upwards of 800 tons, a size that exceeds the capacity of any known ancient crane or lifting device. The technique used to carve, transport, and place these enormous stones remains a subject of intense debate. Ancient historians offer no clear explanation, and modern researchers have yet to replicate the methods that would have been necessary to construct such a feat. Mainstream archaeological theories suggest that these blocks were quarried locally, perhaps from nearby sites like the quarry at Jabal al-Lawz. But even if the stones were quarried close by, the question of how they were moved remains unresolved. Traditional explanations posit the use of human labor, simple tools, and rudimentary lifting mechanisms. But these theories fail to explain how such massive stones could have been maneuvered with such precision. Was there a secret technology at play? An ancient method of construction that has been lost to time. Some have proposed that the stones were moved using an early form of ramp or sled pulled by thousands of workers. This theory is certainly possible, but it relies on a level of manpower and organization that seems almost fantastical. Others suggest that the blocks may have been rolled into place using logs, a technique known to have been used in ancient construction. But the sheer size of the stones at Baalbek challenges this approach. How could the ancient builders have moved stones weighing as much as 800 tons without the aid of advanced machinery? Adding to the mystery are the peculiarities of the subfoundation's layout. The massive stones are not arranged in a haphazard fashion, but are carefully placed with a remarkable degree of precision. They fit together so tightly that it is almost impossible to slip a knife blade between them. The joints between the stones are so fine that it is difficult to detect where one block ends and another begins. This level of craftsmanship, this near-perfect precision, raises the question of whether the builders possessed knowledge that goes beyond what we typically associate with ancient civilizations. Could it be that the construction of the Baalbek subfoundation represents a form of engineering that has been lost to history? Some fringe theories suggest that the ancient builders of Baalbek may have had access to advanced technologies or even extraterrestrial assistance, but these ideas are of course highly speculative. Still, they highlight the incredible mystery of the site. How are these massive stones moved, and why were they placed in such a precise manner? What purpose did they serve in the grand design of Baalbek? Was the sub-foundation simply a functional support for the temple above, or did it hold deeper symbolic significance? One of the most puzzling aspects of the Baalbek sub-foundation is its sheer scale. It is far larger than what would have been required to support the temple above. And this has led some researchers to propose that the sub-foundation may have been part of an even grander structure, one that has been lost to time. Could Baalbek have originally been a site of even greater importance, one that predated the Roman temple by thousands of years? The possibility that the sub-foundation could have been built by an earlier civilization, one that left no other trace behind, is a tantalizing thought. Some have suggested that Baalbek's sub-foundation may have been part of a more ancient religious complex, possibly constructed by a people whose knowledge of architecture and engineering surpassed anything we know from the ancient world. If this is true, it would mean that Baalbek was not merely a Roman creation, but rather the culmination of many generations of builders, each adding their layer to the monumental site. But if this earlier civilization existed, who were they and why did they vanish without leaving any identifiable mark on history? Theories abound, but none offered definitive answers. The Baalbek subfoundation remains one of the most enduring mysteries of ancient architecture, and with each new discovery at the site, the questions grow more complex. What secrets lie hidden beneath the massive stones of Baalbek, and what knowledge was lost when the original builders disappeared? As we stand before the massive stones of Baalbek's subfoundation, we are reminded of how much of history remains beyond our reach. The stones, so perfectly placed and so impossibly large, stand as silent witnesses to a past we may never fully understand. What did the people who built this structure know? And why did they leave such a remarkable, enduring mystery for us to ponder? Only time and further investigation may one day reveal the truth. But for now, Baalbek remains a place where the ancient world and its secrets are tantalizingly out of reach. As we move deeper into the enigma of ancient civilizations, we come to a site that challenges our assumptions about the dawn of human society. The ancient city of Caral, nestled in the coastal valleys of Peru, Caral is one of the oldest known urban centers in the Americas, predating the Inca Empire by over 4,000 years. It is a place where monumental architecture, sophisticated social organization, and advanced agricultural practices all came together long before many of the world's other great civilizations even began to take shape. Yet as impressive as Caral's physical remnants are, it is the secrets that lie in its written, or more accurately unwritten language, that continue to captivate researchers. Kerala is remarkable for many reasons: its sprawling pyramid-like structures, its intricate plazas, and the evidence of a complex hierarchical society. But one of the most intriguing aspects of this ancient site is the potential existence of a form of communication that to this day remains a subject of intense debate: the Caral Kipu. These knotted cords, which are often associated with the Inca civilization, have been found in many Andean sites. But the possibility that a precursor to the Inca Q was in use at Caral raises some tantalizing questions. Could the people of Caral have had a form of written language that has been lost to time? What purpose did these knots serve, and how did they fit into the social and cultural framework of one of the oldest cities in the New World? Quipu, often thought of as a system of knotted cords used for record-keeping, was a key feature of the Inca Empire. It is believed that the Inca used the Q to store numerical data, track trade, and possibly even document historical events. The cords, made from cotton or wool, were tied with knots in varying patterns and colors, each one potentially carrying a specific meaning, but the mystery of the queue extends far beyond the Inca. Recent discoveries at Corral suggest that the use of knotted cords could have been a practice much older than the Inca Empire, perhaps even originating with the Corral civilization itself. In 2001, archaeologists working at Carroll uncovered a set of quipu-like objects at the site. These objects consisted of cords, some of which had knots that seemed to correspond to various patterns. Though no one has been able to definitively decode the meanings behind these knots. The discovery of these early examples suggests that the people of Kerala may have developed a system of communication based on the same principles that the Inca later perfected. But the quipu found at Cal is not just a simple precursor to what came later. It may be evidence of a much more profound shift in the way ancient civilizations interacted with the world. The implications of this hypothesis are profound. If the Carroll quipu was indeed used to encode information, it could represent one of the earliest forms of writing in the Americas. The people of Kerala, who built one of the first great cities in the Americas without the use of writing, may have still developed a sophisticated system of data storage and communication. This would challenge our understanding of the relationship between written language and social organization in early civilizations. Did the people of Corral view their quipu not as a language in the traditional sense, but as a method of recording and organizing information in a society that was already deeply complex? Was their society governed by intricate systems of knowledge shared and passed down through these knots? What makes the Carroll quipu hypothesis even more compelling is the complexity of the society in which it was found. Corral was a thriving urban center, home to a society that engaged in long-distance dance trade, agricultural innovations, and monumental construction projects. The people of Corral constructed impressive pyramids, complex public plazas, and extensive irrigation systems. These feats suggest a highly organized society capable of planning and coordinating large-scale projects. The question then is whether the quipu was a tool to help manage these activities, or whether it was a key component of a larger no-forgotten cultural and religious framework. Could the quipu have been used to encode more than just numerical data? Some researchers believe that the knots might have carried symbolic meaning, potentially representing concepts such as power, status, or even spiritual beliefs. If this is true, then the Carroll quipu could have been much more than a mere accounting tool. It could have been a means of communicating cultural identity, governance, or religious doctrine. But if the queue was used for such purposes, why has it not been more widely recognized as an early form of writing? Could the people of Kerala have seen their quipu not as a written language, but as a method of organizing and transmitting knowledge in a way that was more suited to their needs? Or despite the tantalizing clues provided by the Corral quipu, there is still much that remains unknown. The quipu-like objects found at the site are not yet fully understood, and there is no definitive explanation for their purpose. Scholars have struggled to interpret the meaning of the knots. And without more examples or a key to unlock their meaning, the quipu remains an unsolved riddle. Could the quipu have been part of a larger cultural phenomenon that we are only beginning to understand? Or was it a unique innovation of the Corral people, an isolated system that evolved independently of other known writing traditions in the ancient world? The Carolipu hypothesis invites us to reconsider what it means for a civilization to be advanced. Did the people of Kerala, with their monumental architecture and sophisticated social structure, have a written language? Or was their system of communication something entirely different from what we would traditionally recognize as writing? And if they did have a form of written communication, what did it say about their society? Was it a record of governance, trade, or religion? Or was it something far more complex, a system of thought that transcended the need for traditional writing? As we reflect on the possibility of the Kalipu, we are reminded that history is not always neatly packaged into the forms we expect. The people of Kerala, with their innovations and cultural achievements, may have been on the cusp of something extraordinary. A form of communication that was lost to time, but still has the potential to reshape our understanding of ancient civilizations. The quipu, whether it was truly a precursor to the Inca system or something entirely unique, remains a mystery. one that invites us to wonder what other hidden languages or systems of knowledge might still be waiting to be discovered beneath the sands of time. What stories have yet to be told by these ancient knots, and what lessons might they still hold for us today? As we continue our journey through time, we now turn to a remote and windswept region of Greenland, where the natural beauty of the landscape contrasts sharply with the mysteries hidden within it. Here on the rocky cliffs and riverbanks of the Kjartik Fjord lies a collection of petroglyphs that has long captivated archaeologists, historians, and explorers. These carvings etched into the stone more than 1,000 years ago offer a glimpse into a past that remains largely unknown. But as with many ancient artworks, the meaning behind these enigmatic images remains shrouded in mystery. The Kjartik petroglyphs are among the most important and impressive rock carvings in the Arctic, yet they are often overlooked by mainstream discussions of ancient art. The petroglyphs are spread across several rocks and boulders along the fjord, each one etched with intricate, often abstract designs. Some images appear to depict humans and animals, while others are more abstract, featuring geometric patterns and symbols that seem to defy easy interpretation. What makes these carvings especially intriguing is the location of the site itself. The Kjartik Fjord is isolated, surrounded by vast, uninhabited landscapes that would have been difficult to reach by ancient peoples. Who were the people who created these images, and what did they intend to communicate? The most visible and notable carvings are those of humans and animals, specifically reindeer, seals, and whales. Animals that were of vital importance to the indigenous peoples of the Arctic. The images suggest a deep connection between the people and the environment around them. A relationship that is not surprising given the harsh, survival-oriented conditions of life in this remote region. The intricate detailing of the carvings hints at a sophisticated understanding of these animals, their behaviors, and their place within the broader ecosystem. The reindeer, for example, is often depicted in a stylized manner, with exaggerated antlers and curved bodies, perhaps indicating the reverence with which it was viewed, or the importance of its role in hunting and subsistence. But it is not only the animals that hold our attention. There are also a number of abstract shapes and symbols that appear to hold some deeper significance. Spirals, interlocking circles, and angular patterns are scattered across the surfaces of the boulders, their meanings unclear. Were these symbols part of a larger religious or spiritual belief system? Were they designed to mark territories or perhaps to serve as markers for certain events or rituals? The carvings suggest that the people of Kjartik had a rich and complex belief system, one that may have involved shamanic practices, nature worship, or the marking of important seasonal events. But the exact nature of their symbolism is lost to us. One of the most striking features of the Kjartik petroglyphs is their age. These carvings date back to around 100–300 AD, a time when the Norse were establishing settlements in Greenland and when Inuit cultures were beginning to take shape. Yet despite the proximity in time, there is no direct evidence linking the petroglyphs to either the Norse settlers or the Inuit peoples. The question then is whether these carvings were made by one of these known cultures or by a group whose identity has been erased by the passage of time. Could the petroglyphs be the work of early Inuit groups who were living in the region long before the arrival of the Norse? This theory has some merit, as the Inuit are known to have a long history of creating rock art, particularly in their more northern regions. Their artwork is often linked to spiritual and ritual practices, reflecting their deep connection with the natural world. Alternatively, some researchers have suggested that the carvings may have been made by the Norse themselves, who arrived in Greenland around the same time. The Norse were known to have a complex belief system involving gods, nature spirits, and symbols of power, and it is possible that the petroglyphs at Kjartik are linked to these practices. But despite the proximity in time and geography, there is little evidence to directly connect the Kjartik petroglyphs to either culture. Some archaeologists believe that the carvings could have been made by a third previously unknown group, an indigenous culture that predates both the Inuit and the Norse in the region. This theory suggests that there may have been early Arctic peoples who left behind little more than their rock art as a trace of their existence. A group whose story has been lost to history has been lost. Another theory suggests that the Kajalik petroglyphs may be the work of a nomadic or semi-nomadic people who used the fjord as a seasonal stopping point during their migrations. The abstract symbols, it is argued, might represent the rhythms of the seasons or be related to the movements of animal herds and the hunting cycles. Some even suggest that the spirals and geometric shapes might have been used to track celestial events. Perhaps the movements of the sun or the stars, indicating a deep understanding of astronomy common in many ancient cultures. But again, without more evidence, these remain speculative ideas, intriguing but unproven. Adding to the mystery is the fact that the petroglyphs at Kajalik are not unique to this site. Similar rock carvings have been found throughout the Arctic and subarctic regions, suggesting that the practice of rock art was widespread among ancient peoples in these regions. This raises the question, was there a common artistic or spiritual tradition shared by these diverse cultures? Could the petroglyphs at Kajalik be part of a broader network of communication and
early form of art or language but transcended cultural boundaries? Despite the ongoing research, the true meaning and purpose of the Kajalik petroglyphs remain elusive. Some may argue that the images are purely decorative, created for artistic expression, but the sheer scale and complexity of the carvings suggest that they were likely used for more than just decoration. Were they used in rituals, as a form of storytelling, or to record the events of the people's lives? Were they part of a belief system tied to the land and the animals around them, or did they serve as a form of communication between different groups? The answers, for now, remain hidden in the stone dot as we reflect on the Kajalik petroglyphs. We are reminded that the mysteries of the ancient world are often wrapped in layers of ambiguity. What we see as art may have been something far more profound to those who created it. The carvings at Kajalik, while simple in appearance, may have held deep meanings for those who left them behind. The people who carved these images have long since disappeared, their story untold, but the mystery of their artwork endures. What was the message they were trying to convey? And what secrets might still be hidden in the ancient symbols etched into the rocks? As we continue our exploration of ancient mysteries, we now journey to the heart of the Levant, a region that has long been a crossroads of civilizations, cultures, and histories. Here, in the arid expanse of the Palestinian landscape, lies one of the most enigmatic sites of antiquity, Jel Ramla. The name alone conjures images of vast desert sands, silent and untouched. Yet beneath this desolate surface lies a story that has puzzled scholars for centuries. What secrets does this site hold? And how does it tie into the broader, often overlooked narrative of the ancient world? Jel Ramla, located near the Mediterranean coast, is known primarily for its massive stone circles, remarkable constructions that have sparked both admiration and confusion. These megalithic structures, standing as silent sentinels in the desert, are similar to the stone circles found across the globe from the British Isles to the plains of Mongolia. Yet, despite their visual similarities to other well-known megalithic sites like Stonehenge, the origins and purpose of Jel Ramla's stone circles remain an unresolved mystery. At first glance, the site might appear to be a simple arrangement of stones scattered and weathered by the passing of time, but upon closer inspection, the precision with which the stones are placed begins to suggest a deeper intent. The stones, some weighing several tons, are arranged in a circular pattern, and the alignment of these circles with the cardinal directions has led some researchers to speculate that they may have had an astronomical or cylindrical purpose. They used to mark the changing of seasons, the cycles of the moon, or the positions of celestial bodies? Or were they part of a more complex ritual tied to the spiritual or cultural practices of the people who created them? What is most perplexing about Jel Ramla is the complete absence of definitive evidence as to who constructed these stone circles, and why the site's simplicity contrasts sharply with other ancient monuments that have been well documented and whose purposes are largely understood. There is no inscription, no clear artifact, and no known culture that has left a trace to explain the construction of these enigmatic structures. The lack of written records or direct evidence leaves us with only the stones themselves, which, in their stillness, seem to offer few answers. Some scholars have proposed that the site dates back to the Neolithic or early Bronze Age, perhaps around 3000 to 4000 BC, a time when the region was transitioning from semi-nomadic lifestyles to settled agricultural communities. During this period, the people of the Levant were beginning to form the first cities, and their understanding of the cosmos would have been fundamental to both their survival and their spiritual beliefs. If this theory is correct, then the stones at Jel Ramwa might have served as an early form of astronomical observatory used to track the stars and predict the seasons, just as ancient cultures across the world did. But even this hypothesis raises its own questions. How did such an early, seemingly isolated culture possess the knowledge and skill to construct such an accurate alignment of stones? Were they drawing on ancient knowledge passed down from earlier civilizations, or was this a unique development specific to the region? Another theory suggests that the stone circles were used for ritualistic purposes. The people of the Levant were known to engage in complex religious and ceremonial practices, and many other megalithic sites across the world have been linked to similar activities. Was Jebel Ramwa a place of worship where the cycles of nature were honored through sacrifice, prayer, or other rites? If so, what deities or forces were the ancient people of this land worshipping? Some researchers have even speculated that the circles were used to mark the seasonal movements of the sun, which would have had profound significance for an agrarian society dependent on the cycles of nature for their survival. But if the site was indeed tied to religious rituals, it is curious that no direct evidence of such practices, no figurines, carvings, or written texts has been uncovered. There are also fringe theories that suggest a more mysterious origin for the site. Some have proposed that the stone circles at Jel Ramwa were constructed by an ancient lost civilization, one that possessed knowledge and technologies far ahead of its time. Could this site be the remnants of a forgotten culture that existed long before recorded history? Perhaps a civilization that had an understanding of astronomy, geometry, and architecture that we have yet to comprehend. This idea, though highly speculative, fits within the broader pattern of mystery sites around the world that continue to defy explanation. From the Great Pyramids of Egypt to the ancient temples of the Americas, there is a recurring theme of extraordinary constructions whose origins seem to be shrouded in mystery. Could Jel Ramwa be part of this global pattern? A silent testament to a civilization lost to time? Yet, despite these many theories, the true purpose of the site remains elusive. The stones stand in quiet defiance of easy answers, offering no inscriptions, no artifacts, and no clear clues as to the identity of their builders. Was Jel Ramwa a place of worship, an astronomical observatory, or perhaps a marker of territorial boundaries? Could it have served as a calendar, marking the passage of time, or as a gathering place for early communities to commemorate and perform rituals? The answers to these questions remain out of reach, leaving us to wonder about the hidden history beneath the stones. What we do know is that Jel Ramwa is part of a long and rich tradition of megalithic sites that stretches across the globe from the deserts of the Levant to the moors of Britain and beyond. These sites are the remnants of ancient peoples who sought to connect with the forces of nature, who looked to the heavens and tried to understand their place in the universe. The stone circles of Jel Ramwa, though mysterious, are no exception. They are a link in this chain, a clue to a forgotten past, one that we are only beginning to understand. As we stand before the silent stones of Jebel Ramwa, we are reminded of the vastness of human history and the mysteries that still lie hidden in the land. What did the builders of these stone circles know? And what did they seek to communicate? The answers for now remain buried beneath the sands of time. But as we continue to search, to question, and to explore, we may one day uncover the true story of Gabel Ramla, one that could change our understanding of the ancient world forever. As we journey deeper into the ancient past, we arrive in the lush, fertile plains of northeastern Thailand, to a site that holds an extraordinary secret, a mystery that may rewrite what we know about early metallurgy and the origins of civilization itself. This site, Boniang, was first discovered in the late 1960s, and since then, it has become one of Southeast Asia's most important archaeological locations. But what makes Boniang truly remarkable is not just its extensive burial sites or its pottery, but the advanced level of metallurgy that emerged in this region thousands of years ago. Banchiang is famous for its Bronze Age culture, which flourished from around 2000 to 1000 BC. It was here that the ancient inhabitants of the area demonstrated an unexpected mastery of metalwork, using copper to create tools, weapons, and ornaments that were far ahead of their time. At first glance, Banchiang may seem like a typical prehistoric site with its earthen mounds and pottery shards, but beneath the surface lies a story of innovation and mystery. The people of Banchiang were working with metal in ways that were not believed to be possible for societies of their time. In fact, the sophistication of their metallurgy suggests they may have been centuries ahead of their neighbors. When archaeologists began their excavation of Banchiang, they unearthed evidence of early copper metallurgy, including tools and decorative items made from copper alloys. What was startling, however, was the discovery of bronze, an alloy of copper and tin, long before it was thought to be in use in other parts of the world. While ancient civilizations like the Egyptians and Mesopotamians are known to have begun using bronze around 3000 BC, the people of Boniang were creating bronze tools, weapons, and jewelry as early as 2000 BC. This early mastery of metallurgy in Southeast Asia raises a profound question. How did the people of Boniang acquire the knowledge and resources to create bronze so much earlier than other known civilizations? At the heart of the Boniang mystery is the question of technological diffusion. How did such advanced knowledge of metallurgy appear in a region that was not connected to the great ancient centers of the Near East or the Mediterranean? The mainstream explanation posits that this knowledge was somehow passed from more advanced civilizations through trade or cultural exchange. But if that is the case, why did it emerge so early? And why did it appear so far from the well-established centers of metalwork? One theory suggests that Boniang's early use of bronze was not the result of external influence, but of an indigenous technological development. The people of Boniang, it is argued, may have independently discovered how to smelt copper and tin to create an alloy, an extraordinary achievement for a society living in a relatively isolated region. This theory challenges the traditional view of technological advancement, which often relies on the diffusion of ideas across civilizations. If the people of Banchiang were able to independently develop bronze, it would imply a level of ingenuity and innovation that we do not usually associate with small early societies. Was Banchiang an isolated cradle of advanced metallurgy? Or was this discovery simply the result of a larger unrecorded network of ancient cultures sharing knowledge? What makes this mystery even more perplexing is the fact that the copper and bronze artifacts discovered at Boniang appear to be the product of a very sophisticated metalwork process. The artifacts are not just crude tools. They are finely crafted with detailed decoration and intricate designs that suggest a deep understanding of both metallurgy and artistic expression. Some of the bronze objects found at Banchiang include tools for farming, ceremonial items, and even ornaments. Items that would have been used in daily life as well as in ritual. These artifacts indicate that the people of Banchiang did not just use metal for practical purposes. but also for symbolic or spiritual reasons. In addition to the tools and weapons, archaeologists also uncovered a number of burial sites that contained bronze items. These graves, which date back to around 1500 BC, offer a fascinating glimpse into the social structure of Boniang. The graves suggest a society with some degree of hierarchy, with bronze objects found in the graves of wealthier individuals. These items may have signified status or power, further emphasizing the importance of metallurgy in the society's cultural and social fabric. But if the people of Banjiang were working with bronze so early, how did they acquire the tin necessary to create the alloy? Tin is not native to Southeast Asia, and it was thought that ancient societies only began using tin in their bronze-making practices after discovering the metal through trade. However, the people of Banjiang seem to have obtained tin from a variety of sources, which raises another intriguing question. How did they know where to find it? The tin deposits found in the region are not extensive, and it seems unlikely that a small community would have been able to identify these resources without a deeper knowledge of geology or a trade network that extended far beyond their immediate surroundings. Could the people of Boniang have had a knowledge of metallurgy that allowed them to discover tin on their own? Or did they have contact with distant cultures that provided them with the necessary materials? There are also speculative theories that suggest Bach was not simply an isolated society, but part of a larger interconnected network of cultures that traded knowledge and resources. Some researchers have pointed to the widespread use of similar metalwork techniques across Southeast Asia, suggesting that the knowledge of metallurgy may have spread through a region-wide network of trade. This theory would explain the advanced nature of Banjiang's metalwork, but leaves open the question of how such a network could have existed so early in history. Did the people of Southeast Asia have access to knowledge from other distant civilizations? Or was there a now forgotten culture that acted as a bridge between different parts of the ancient world? Another possibility is that Banjiang's metallurgy was influenced by ideas or technologies that were far older than previously thought. Some researchers have suggested that there may have been an earlier, now lost civilization that possessed advanced knowledge of metallurgy, and that this knowledge was passed down in small fragmented pieces to cultures like those at Banjiang. This theory ties into the broader mystery of early technological advancements, many of which seem to appear suddenly without clear origins or explanations. Could the ancient people of Banjiang have been part of a greater forgotten tradition of metalwork that spanned millennia? Despite the many theories and ideas, the true origins of Banjiang's metallurgy remain an unsolved puzzle. While the artifacts and evidence discovered at the site suggest an advanced understanding of metalwork, there is no definitive answer as to how or why this knowledge developed in such a remote and isolated region. The people of Banjiang were clearly skilled craftsmen, able to create tools, ornaments, and weapons from materials that were not easy to obtain. But was their knowledge the product of independent innovation, a reflection of a larger network of trade, or the legacy of a lost civilization? As we ponder the mysteries of Boniang, we are left with more questions than answers. What drove the people of this small community to master metallurgy so early? And what knowledge lost to time did they possess that we have yet to uncover? The answers perhaps lie hidden beneath the earth, waiting for future generations to unravel the secrets of this ancient and remarkable civilization. As we move further back in time, our next stop takes us to a quiet, almost forgotten stretch of land in the heart of England, where beneath the surface of well-trodden earth lies a discovery that has intrigued archaeologists and historians for generations. This is Blue Road, a site that holds within it a remarkable mystery. A set of ancient trackways or pathways that stretch across the landscape, cutting through the earth in a way that suggests a once vibrant network of travel, commerce and human connection. But these trackways are not just any ancient roads. They are remnants of a prehistoric time, and their exact purpose and origins remain a puzzle. Located near the village of Bale in Nottinghamshire, the Bale Road trackways are a collection of narrow, linear paths that were discovered in the early 20th century. These paths, believed to be thousands of years old, were carved into the earth, creating long, winding grooves that seem to serve no immediate or obvious purpose. They are not typical roads for wheeled vehicles. Instead, they appear to have been designed for foot traffic or pack animals, perhaps used for trade, ritual, or migration. At first glance, the trackways might appear as simple markings on the landscape, easily overlooked by the untrained eye. But when one looks closer, it becomes clear that these paths are far more complex and deliberate than one might expect. The trackways themselves are deeply worn into the soil, sometimes several feet deep, with edges that appear to have been intentionally shaped. What is most striking about these paths, however, is their layout. Many of the tracks are aligned with the landscape in ways that suggest a deep understanding of the natural world. Some align with the solstices, while others seem to trace the movements of the sun and stars, hinting at a possible astronomical or spiritual significance. Could these pathways have been more than just roads for travel? Were they part of a ritual landscape, perhaps created by an ancient society that revered the movements of celestial bodies? Despite the intriguing design and alignment of the Blue Road trackways, little is known about the people who created them. Archaeologists believe the paths date back to the late Bronze Age or early Iron Age, roughly between 100 and 500 BC, a time when much of prehistoric Britain was transitioning from a culture of small, isolated farming communities to larger, more organized societies. But what exactly these trackways were used for remains a matter of debate. The most commonly accepted explanation is that they were functional pathways used for transportation, trade, or perhaps even for military purposes. This would align with the development of early road networks, which were crucial for connecting distant settlements and facilitating the movement of goods. However, this theory leaves many questions unanswered. The trackways at Blue Road are not laid out in any obvious pattern for practical travel. Instead, they seem to wind in strange directions, sometimes doubling back on themselves or disappearing into dense forest areas where travel would be difficult or even impossible. This has led some researchers to propose more speculative theories. One such theory suggests that the trackways may have had a ceremonial purpose. The ancient people who constructed these paths may have used them to mark sacred routes or places of spiritual significance, traveling along them for ritualistic purposes rather than simple transportation. This idea is supported by the alignment of some of the trackways with astronomical events, such as the solstices, which would suggest a link between the paths and ancient practices of skywatching or seasonal observances. The people of Blue Road may have believed that these trackways connected them to the divine, or that traveling along them during certain times of the year was a way to align themselves with cosmic forces. But if these trackways were part of a larger religious or astronomical system, why did they not develop into the grand formal roads seen in other ancient civilizations? Why are they so isolated, found only in this specific location? And why do they lack the clear, organized pattern one might expect from a civilization with a formal understanding of roads and infrastructure? Another intriguing theory suggests that the trackways may have been part of an ancient pilgrimage route. Pilgrimages have been an important part of many ancient cultures, with people traveling long distances to reach sacred sites or locations of spiritual importance. The Blue Road trackways, with their unusual alignment and winding routes, could have served as a guide for those making pilgrimages to a holy site or a location of cultural significance. But to which place or purpose did these paths lead? Was there a specific destination, a temple, or a sacred mountain that the people of this time sought out? And what did they hope to find there? They hoped these speculative ideas hinted the possibility that the trackways were not just functional but symbolic, marking the intersection of natural world and the spiritual realm. The alignment of the trackways with celestial events and the seeming randomness of their paths suggest that they may have been more than just roads. They could have been conduits for people to connect with something greater than themselves, whether that was the cycles of nature, the movements of the stars, or the divine. What is perhaps most perplexing about the Blue Road trackways is the fact that they are not isolated. There are other examples of similar trackways and ancient paths found across Britain and Europe, many of which exhibit the same mysterious qualities. These sites, such as the White Horse Hill in Oxfordshire or the ancient paths in the Highlands of Scotland, share similar characteristics with the Blue Road trackways, paths that twist and turn without clear reason, winding across landscapes in ways that seem to defy the practical needs of travel. These sites form a pattern that cannot be easily dismissed, and some scholars believe they may represent the remnants of a once widespread network of ritual pathways connecting different regions and cultures through shared beliefs and practices. But the purpose of these paths remains unclear. Were they used to trace the movements of the heavens, to mark the changing seasons, or to serve as pilgrimage routes for the ancient peoples of Britain? The Blue Road trackways are an intriguing mystery, but like many ancient sites, their true purpose may never be fully understood. The people who created these pathways left behind no written records, no explanations for their actions. All that remains are the worn grooves in the earth, a silent testament to a Longoni civilization whose beliefs and practices remain shrouded in mystery. As we continue to study and speculate about these ancient paths, we are reminded that the past is not always as clear as we would like it to be. Sometimes, the questions are more important than the answers, and it is in the mystery itself that the most profound discoveries can be found. What were the true intentions of the people who built the Blue Road trackways? Were they simply roads for travel, or did they serve a deeper, more symbolic purpose? As we search for answers, the mystery of these ancient paths continues to invite us to explore the unknown, to wonder what may still lie hidden beneath the earth. As we move deeper into the exploration of ancient mysteries, our journey takes us to a remote, swampy landscape in the highlands of Papua New Guinea. Cook Swamp. On the surface, this site might appear to be nothing more than a marshy, unremarkable patch of land overlooked by most. But beneath the murky waters and dense vegetation lies a hidden world, a glimpse into the ancient past that has the potential to redefine our understanding of agriculture, settlement patterns, and even the very origins of human civilization in the Pacific. Cook Swamp is situated in the Wadi Valley, an area that has long been known for its fertile soils and rich natural resources. The swamp itself covers an expansive area, its waters slowly ebbing and flowing with the seasons, feeding the lush rainforest surrounding it. Yet, it is not the swamp's natural beauty or its role in the local ecosystem that draws attention. What lies beneath this wetland is what makes Cook Swamp one of the most fascinating and mysterious archaeological sites in the world. The significance of Cook Swamp was first discovered in the 1970s when archaeologists began to unearth evidence of ancient agricultural practices dating back more than 10,000 years. In a region where the cultivation of crops such as sweet potatoes and taro is a deeply ingrained tradition, it might seem unsurprising to find traces of early farming, but the discoveries made at Cook Swamp go far beyond simple agriculture. What they reveal is a complex, sophisticated system of land management that suggests the people of this region were not merely subsistence farmers. They were in fact shaping and modifying their environment on a scale that was previously believed to be beyond the capabilities of prehistoric societies. At the heart of this mystery is the discovery of ancient drainage systems, which suggest that the people of Cook Swamp had developed an advanced form of wetland cultivation long before similar practices were thought to have emerged elsewhere in the world. These drainage channels, built with remarkable precision and ingenuity, are evidence of an early understanding of water management. Knowledge that would have been essential in a swampy environment prone to flooding. The people of Cook Swamp built an intricate network of ditches, embankments, and raised garden beds, transforming the swamp into a highly productive agricultural landscape. This land was carefully managed not just for food production, but also for the cultivation of crops in a sustainable way. The sophistication of these agricultural techniques is extraordinary when we consider the context in which they were developed. The people of Cook Swamp lived in a period of prehistory, long before the advent of metal tools or the rise of large-scale civilizations. And yet, their ability to manipulate the land and control the flow of water shows a remarkable understanding of both nature and technology. But how did they acquire this knowledge? Was it passed down through generations, or did it represent a sudden leap in agricultural expertise? The most striking evidence of this early agricultural innovation comes from the discovery of prehistoric gardens that were carefully tended. Some dating back to 10,000 years ago, these gardens were not simple plots of land. They were highly organized with carefully constructed terraces and irrigation channels designed to support a variety of crops. In fact, some researchers have suggested that the agricultural system at Cook Swamp may have been one of the earliest examples of wetland rice cultivation, a practice that would later become central to civilizations across Asia. If true, this would suggest that the people of Cook Swamp were pioneers in wetland agriculture, developing techniques that would eventually spread across the Pacific and beyond. Yet, despite the extraordinary complexity of the agricultural practices at Cook Swamp, the precise origins and development of this system remain shrouded in mystery. How did the people of this region, isolated from the major ancient civilizations of the world, develop such advanced agricultural methods? Was it the result of a long, slow process of trial and error? Or was there some form of cultural diffusion, a transfer of knowledge from other ancient societies? The lack of written records or direct evidence of cultural exchange makes it difficult to draw firm conclusions. Some researchers have proposed that Cook Swamp represents an isolated example of indigenous innovation. The people of the Wadi Valley may have independently discovered and developed the techniques necessary to transform their environment and support a stable agricultural economy. The abundance of food that these practices would have ensured could have led to the growth of permanent settlements, the rise of social complexity, and the development of other cultural practices. In this view, the people of Cook Swamp were not simply passive recipients of ideas. They were active creators, inventing their own solutions to the challenges posed by their environment. Others, however, speculate that Cook Swamp may have been part of a broader network of interconnected cultures. The sophistication of the agricultural systems in place at Cook Swamp, along with the evidence of long-distance dance trade and contact with neighboring regions, suggest that the people of the Wadi Valley may have been part of a larger trans-Pacific cultural exchange. In this theory, the agricultural knowledge that was developed at Cook Swamp may have been shared, spread, or even influenced by other ancient cultures across the Pacific. Were the people of Cook Swamp connected to a wider maritime trading network, one that extended across the ocean and brought new ideas and technologies to the islands of Oceania? Or was Cook Swamp, with its unique approach to agriculture, the product of a completely isolated and independent development? One of the most intriguing aspects of the Cook Swamp mystery is the question of how these early agricultural systems were maintained over such a long period of time. The people who lived in the area did not simply settle for a few generations and then move on. They carefully cultivated and tended the land for thousands of years, passing down knowledge and techniques that allowed the landscape to remain productive for centuries. But the question remains, how did these systems endure over time? Was it a matter of deep knowledge of the land and water passed down through generations of farmers? Or was there something more? An ancient cultural system that embedded these practices into the very fabric of society, ensuring their survival and continuation. Despite the remarkable discoveries made at Cook Swamp, many questions remain. The site has offered us a rare glimpse into the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the people who lived there. Yet it also reminds us how little we truly know about the origins of human civilization in this part of the world. What drove these early farmers to transform their environment in such a profound way? Was Cook Swamp the result of a slow evolution of knowledge? Or was it a sudden leap in technological development? As we look to the future, the mystery of Cook Swamp continues to linger. What more might we discover about the agricultural practices of the ancient people who once lived in the Wadi Valley? And what other forgotten landscapes may hold the secrets to humanity's earliest steps towards civilization? The answers, for now, remain elusive, but the story of Cook Swamp invites us to ask new questions about the ways in which human societies adapt to and shape the world around them. Questions that may one day reveal more than we can yet imagine. Amid the rugged hills and arid plains of the Levant, near the village of Sher, lies one of the most enigmatic archaeological sites in the region. The sheer megalithic corridors, hidden beneath the shadows of towering stone structures and sun-baked landscapes. This site has long fascinated historians and archaeologists alike, presenting a mystery that even after years of study remains largely unsolved. The megalithic corridors, often overlooked in comparison to more famous ancient structures, offer a glimpse into the lives of those who lived in this region thousands of years ago. But as with so many ancient sites, the true purpose and meaning of these corridors seem to defy our understanding. The first thing that strikes visitors to Sher is the sheer scale of the megaliths. Large stone slabs, some weighing several tons, are carefully arranged in long, winding corridors that stretch across the landscape. These stones are not simply placed haphazardly. They are arranged with a degree of precision that suggests a highly sophisticated understanding of construction and engineering. Some of these corridors seem to have no practical purpose. They don't lead anywhere specific, nor do they follow natural pathways. Instead, they meander, winding and bending in unexpected ways. What were these strange stone pathways used for? Why were they built in such a deliberate yet puzzling manner? The site itself dates back to a period known as the Chalcolithic or the Copper Age, which began around 5000 BC. This was a time when early societies in the Levant were transitioning from simple nomadic lifestyles to more permanent agricultural settlements. As the region began to evolve, so too did its architectural style. People began to work with larger and more durable materials, including stone. But while the shift towards stone construction was common in many parts of the ancient world, what makes the megalithic corridors unique is their design and apparent purpose. Unlike other megalithic structures, such as the stone circles at Stonehenge, which are thought to have served as places of ritual or astronomical observance, the corridors at Sher do not fit neatly into any one category. At first glance, the simplest explanation for these corridors might be that they were pathways, roads, or walkways used by the people of the time to traverse the rugged landscape. But a closer inspection reveals that the megaliths are too precisely arranged to serve this basic function. The corridors are often lined with stones that appear to have been carefully selected and positioned for their size and shape, creating a series of narrow enclosed pathways that guide visitors through the site. But where do these paths lead? Why do they turn at sharp angles and lead into seemingly empty spaces only to stop abruptly? Some corridors even seem to converge on nothing at all, leaving researchers to wonder if these paths were designed with symbolic meaning rather than practical function. In fact, many researchers believe that the megalithic corridors at Sheer were not intended for travel at all, but were built for ritualistic or ceremonial purposes. The placement of the stones suggests that the builders had a profound understanding of both geometry and astronomy. Some of the corridors appear to be aligned with celestial events, such as the movements of the sun and the stars. Could these paths have been constructed to mark significant astronomical alignments or to guide the people of Sheer during particular times of the year? Was the site used for seasonal rituals, perhaps to celebrate the solstices or to mark agricultural cycles? As intriguing as these possibilities are, they do not fully explain the unique features of the site. The stones are arranged in a way that suggests the builders may have been trying to achieve something more than just a symbolic connection with the heavens. Some theorists speculate that the corridors may have served as an early form of a labyrinth, perhaps used for meditation, initiation rites, or as a way to connect with the divine. The twisting, meandering paths might have been designed to create a physical journey that mirrored a spiritual or psychological journey, a journey that took the participant through a symbolic passage, much like the mazes found in later ancient cultures. Ancient, nestled in the sun-scorched plains of southeastern Spain, near the town of Almeria, lies an ancient settlement that has long intrigued archaeologists and historians alike. This is Los Malares, one of the most important archaeological sites of the European Bronze Age, spanning from around 2500 BC to 1800 BC. Los Malares represents a time when the Iberian Peninsula was home to a sophisticated culture that left behind mysterious stone structures, fortified settlements, and intricate burial rituals. Yet despite the wealth of material culture unearthed at the site, one aspect of Los Malares continues to captivate scholars: its inner phases. The term inner phases refers to a sequence of structural and cultural developments at Los Malares that remain difficult to fully understand. These phases were marked by significant changes in the settlement's design, its social organization, and the rituals practiced by its inhabitants. But what prompted these changes? And what do they tell us about the people of Los Malares and their interactions with the world around them? At first glance, the settlement of Los Malares is a sight to behold. The remains of the ancient village are scattered across a vast plateau, where the foundations of round stone built houses are visible, along with the remnants of massive stone walls and fortifications that once enclosed the community. The sheer scale of the site speaks to a highly organized society, one capable of coordinating large-scale construction efforts. But as impressive as the architecture is, it is the phases of transformation within the settlement that remain the true enigma. Los Malares was initially a thriving fortified settlement that may have served as both a trade center and a hub for local communities. The earliest phases of the settlement are marked by well-planned structures, including circular houses and large communal areas, indicative of a society that had begun to shift away from purely nomadic ways of life to a more sedentary agrarian existence. The people of Los Malares were already familiar with metallurgy, evidenced by their skillful production of copper tools and weapons, and had begun to form more complex social hierarchies. However, it is in the inner phases that the true mystery begins. As the settlement continued to develop, changes began to emerge in the architecture, social practices, and ritual life of the community. One of the most notable changes was the increasing prominence of large, communal structures that appeared to have served as focal points for social and religious activities. these buildings were larger and more elaborate than the residential structures, and their use remains unclear. Were they temples or ritual centers perhaps used for communal gatherings or ceremonial rites? Were they designed to symbolize the growing importance of religion or political power within the settlement? But perhaps the most striking feature of the inner phases at Los Malares is the construction of elaborate burial sites. The people of Los Mares buried their dead in a unique manner using large stone tombs known as tholos or beehive tombs. These tombs were often built with considerable care and featured intricate arrangements of stones. What sets them apart is not just their size, but the ritual practices associated with them. Inside some of these tombs, archaeologists have found the remains of individuals who were accompanied by elaborate grave goods, copper tools, pottery, and even animal bones, suggesting that the dead were viewed as having a continuing role in the community. The dead were in essence integrated into the ongoing social fabric of the living. Yet the burial practices at Los Malares also hinted something darker. Some of the graves contain multiple bodies, suggesting that these individuals may have been part of group burials or possibly ritual sacrifices. Was death viewed not just as an end, but as a transition to something else? The presence of animal bones and other symbolic items in the graves raises further questions. Did these items have a spiritual significance? And were they meant to guide the dead to the afterlife or ensure their protection in the next life? The growing complexity of these rituals and the development of larger, more intricate burial structures indicate a society that was increasingly focused on the afterlife and role of the deceased in its religious and social order. But why this dramatic shift? Was it simply the natural evolution of religious beliefs? Or was something more profound happening in the community? Something that caused a fundamental shift in the way the people of Los Memories viewed life, death, and power? The answer may lie in the changing social and political landscape of the settlement. As Los Malares became more established and its population grew, so too did the competition for resources, power, and influence. The construction of monumental structures and the elaboration of burial practices may have been a way for the elites of Los Malares to assert their dominance. These changes could have been part of a broader social transformation that saw the rise of an elite class with power being concentrated in the hands of a few individuals or families. The inner phases might in this sense represent a move toward centralization as the elites sought to solidify their control over the community through both political and spiritual means. At the same time, the shift in burial practices and the increasing prominence of communal spaces suggests that the community was becoming more focused on collective identity. This might have been a response to external pressures, such as environmental changes or the rise of neighboring cultures, which could have necessitated greater solidarity among the people of Los Malares. The rituals surrounding death and the idea of the dead continuing to play an active role in the life of the community might have served to reinforce this sense of unity and shared purpose. Yet, for all the insights gained from the material remains, the true nature of the inner phases at Los Malares remains elusive. Was the transition from simple agrarian life to complex social organization driven by external forces such as trade or warfare? Or did it result from internal cultural or religious shifts that changed the way people viewed their relationship with the land, their ancestors, and the divine? These questions remain unanswered, leaving room for speculation and debate. As we continue to explore the mysteries of ancient sites like Los Malares, we are reminded that the past is never as straightforward as it might appear. Every discovery opens up new avenues for inquiry, but often the answers remain tantalizingly out of reach. The inner phases of Los Mares invite us to consider how societies evolve, how they grapple with the forces of change, and how they use the tools of architecture, ritual, and social organization to shape their destinies. But perhaps the most important question is this: what might still lie hidden beneath the earth of Los Molares, waiting to be uncovered, waiting to tell its story? Only time and further excavation will reveal the answers. On the windswept island of Sardinia, nestled in the remote and rugged terrain of its interior, lies one of the most puzzling and enigmatic archaeological features of the ancient world: the Sardinian giants' tombs. These megalithic structures, built during the pre-Nuragic phase of Sardinia's history, date back to as early as 1500 BC. Unlike the famous structures of the more widely known Nuragic period, which followed a few centuries later, these tombs seem to stand as a silent and mysterious testament to a lost people and a forgotten era. At first glance, the giants' tombs may appear to be little more than large stone-built burial sites, their grandeur overshadowed by the more spectacular nourishes that would come after. But the sheer scale and complexity of these tombs suggest that the society that built them was far more advanced than one might assume. What sets the giants' tombs apart is not just their size, but their placement and their design, each one carefully constructed with large stones arranged in intricate patterns, forming a structure that resembles a stone corridor or passageway. The tombs themselves are massive, often reaching over 20 meters in length, and their walls are made up of large, carefully shaped stones. The most striking feature of these tombs is the so-called corridor, which often extends along the length of the tomb, creating a passageway that appears to be both symbolic and functional. These passages were once thought to represent a journey to the afterlife, a path the deceased would take to reach the realm of the ancestors. However, this view, while plausible, does not explain all the peculiarities of the site. The tombs are typically constructed from large stone slabs, many of which weigh several tons. The sheer effort and resources required to move and arrange these stones hint at a society capable of organizing large-scale labor forces. But who were the people behind these monumental structures? And why did they invest so much energy into creating such grandiose burial sites for their dead? What was it about the dead that led to such elaborate and complex memorials? One of the most enduring mysteries of the giants' tombs is their name. Why are these structures called giant tombs? While the answer may seem simple at first, perhaps these tombs were thought to belong to giant individuals. Scholars are not entirely sure. The name may derive from local folklore in which giants were believed to have inhabited the island in ancient times. According to one legend, the tombs were created for giants who once walked the land, their enormous size reflected in the towering stones. However, this mythological explanation, while captivating, does not shed much light on the tomb's actual purpose or the identity of the people who built them. The giants' tombs are scattered across Sardinia, with dozens of these structures found throughout the island. But what is perhaps most intriguing is the remarkable consistency in their design. Even though they were built by different communities over several centuries, the tombs follow a similar layout with a long corridor that leads to a central chamber where the bodies of the deceased were laid to rest. The consistency of this design raises questions. Was there a single culture responsible for all the tombs? Or were they the work of various tribes who shared a common belief system? What common ideas and practices linked these disparate communities across time and space? Archaeological evidence points to the fact that these tombs were not just burial sites, but were likely places of communal significance. Alongside the human remains found within the tombs, archaeologists have discovered a range of grave goods, including pottery, bronze tools, and ritual objects. These objects, often associated with both life and death, suggest that the tombs were places not only for burial, but also for ritual and remembrance. It was as if the tombs themselves were conceived as portals to another world, a connection between the living and the dead. There is also evidence that the tombs were used in rituals long after the bodies were interred. For example, in some instances, the bones of the deceased appear to have been disturbed or rearranged, possibly as part of ongoing ceremonies or ancestral worship. These rituals could have involved offerings or even the reburial of remains, suggesting that the deceased were still very much part of the living community's spiritual and social life. If the people of Sardinia believed in an afterlife, it seems that their view of death was not final, but instead a continuation of existence in a different form. The dead were not forgotten, but their memory was kept alive through rituals performed at these grand tombs. Another mystery lies in the alignment of the tombs themselves. Many of the giant tombs are oriented along specific astronomical alignments, suggesting that the people who built them may have had a deep understanding of the movements of the sun, moon, and stars. Some tombs are positioned to align with the rising and setting sun on the solstices, while others appear to be aligned with certain stars. That was the positioning of the tombs purely symbolic, a way to honor the deceased with celestial connections. Or was it perhaps a way to ensure that the spirits of the dead could find their way to the heavens or the underworld, following the paths of the sun and stars? The sophistication of these structures raises a number of important questions about the social and technological advancements of the pre-Nuragic people of Sardinia. While it is clear that the people who built the giants' tombs had mastered the art of stone construction, there is still much we do not know about their methods. How did they transport such massive stones across the island? How did they communicate and coordinate the construction of these grand sites? And what role did the elites of Sardinia play in their creation? Were these tombs built by a select group of individuals? Or did they represent the work of entire communities working together? As fascinating as the Sardinian Janstoms are, the questions surrounding them remain largely unanswered. We may never know for certain who the giants were or why these massive structures were built. But the mystery of the tombs continues to fuel our curiosity, reminding us of the complexities of ancient cultures and the ways in which they sought to connect with the divine, with their ancestors, and with the cosmos itself. Perhaps the most compelling question remains: what more might lie hidden beneath the stones of these ancient tombs, waiting to be discovered? Could there be further clues? Ancient texts, forgotten relics, or lost traditions that might finally shed light on the purpose and significance of these monumental sites. As we continue to explore the history of Sardinia and its ancient past, the giants' tombs stand as a reminder that there is always more to uncover, and that the true mysteries of the past may be closer than we think, just beneath the surface. In the sun-drenched hills of Portugal, nestled among the verdant landscape of the Alentejo region, lies an ancient site that has baffled historians and archaeologists for centuries: Zambiul. This Iron Age hill fort, with its sprawling defensive walls and intricate fortifications, speaks to a time long before written history, when people carved out their existence in the unforgiving landscape. The sheer scale and complexity of Zambal's fortifications suggest a society that was not only skilled in construction, but also deeply concerned with defense, social order, and the protection of their way of life. Yet, despite the impressive remains and the extensive research conducted at the site, the logic behind its design remains shrouded in mystery. Zambiul is located atop a hill, offering a commanding view of the surrounding valleys. The fortification's walls, made of large, well-dressed stones, enclose a series of terraces that were once home to a thriving community. The walls themselves, which stretch over several hundred meters, are not just defensive barriers. They form a complex network of passageways, gates, and platforms. At first glance, Zambiul appears to be a straightforward hill fort, a structure built for defense, protection from invaders, and perhaps a refuge in times of war. But as researchers delve deeper into its design, a far more intricate and purposeful layout begins to emerge. one that suggests that Zambyl was far more than just a military stronghold. The layout of Zambyl is unlike that of most other Iron Age hill forts. Rather than a simple circular or rectangular design, Zambyl's walls form a series of interconnected enclosures, each with its own distinct purpose. The fortification is divided into multiple levels, each accessed by narrow, winding paths that are carefully controlled by strategically placed gates. These gates, along with the fort's towering walls, suggest that access to the hill fort was carefully regulated. The design appears deliberate, as though it was meant to channel movement, control traffic, and perhaps even manipulate the flow of people or goods through the settlement. What is most intriguing about Zambujaw's design is the manner in which its fortifications seem to echo the social organization of the people who live there. The site appears to have been divided into distinct zones, each serving different functions. Some residential, others likely ceremonial or economic. This suggests that the community was highly organized with a clear division of labor and perhaps even a stratified social structure. But why such a precise and compartmentalized design? Was Zambyl's fortification a response to external threats? Or was it designed to control internal dynamics within the community itself? At the heart of Zambyl lies a massive structure known as the Central Building. This building, situated in the innermost part of the fortification, is unlike any other found in similar hill forts. Its size and complexity suggest it was a focal point for the community, perhaps the residence of a leader or a place of communal gathering. The building's layout is highly intricate, with a series of interconnected rooms and passageways that suggest it may have served multiple purposes. Was it a place of power, a center of political or religious influence, or something else entirely? The walls of the central building are lined with large stones, some weighing several tons, while the floors are covered in a thick layer of mortar. Inside, archaeologists have uncovered numerous artifacts, pottery, tools, and remnants of ancient weapons that hint at the everyday life of the people who once inhabited Zambyl. But the true mystery lies in the sheer scale of the construction. How did a society without advanced technology manage to move such massive stones and construct such an elaborate building? Was it the work of a highly skilled labor force? Or did Zambuj represent a culture with a level of knowledge and organization that is still not fully understood? Outside the central building, the fortification's walls rise to dramatic heights, creating an imposing barrier that would have been difficult for any potential invader to breach. Yet the strategic placement of gates, along with the careful layout of the paths leading into and out of the settlement, suggests that the inhabitants of Zambyl were more concerned with controlling access than with simply keeping enemies out. Could the walls have been a means of controlling trade and communication? Was Zambyl not just a defensive structure, but also a hub for economic activity, with its walls and gates serving to regulate the flow of goods and people? The flow of goods, perhaps most intriguingly, some scholars have speculated that Zambyl's fortifications may have had a symbolic purpose as well. The division of the settlement into distinct areas, along with the careful placement of gates and walls, could reflect a deeper ritualistic significance. Was the layout of the site designed to represent a cosmic order, a reflection of the social and religious beliefs of its people? Many ancient cultures, from the Egyptians to the Mayans, constructed their cities and temples according to a cosmological schema, with the arrangement of buildings and walls symbolizing the walls, symbolizing the Mayans constructed their cities and temples according to a cosmological schema, with the arrangement of buildings and walls symbolizing the Egyptians to the Mayans constructed their cities and temples because the arrangement of buildings and tellings in the Genazine, the Mayans ancient Germans structure of the universe. Could Zambyl have followed a similar pattern with its fortifications, serving as a symbolic representation of the relationship between the earthly and the divine? The defensive logic behind Zambul is another layer of its mystery. While it is clear that the site was designed to withstand attack, the presence of multiple gates and internal barriers suggests a level of complexity that goes beyond mere defense. Was the site intended to serve as a refuge during times of war? Or was it a place of political control designed to keep certain individuals in power while limiting access to others? The fact that the settlement's walls are so imposing, yet its design so compartmentalized, points to a social structure that was both hierarchical and deeply concerned with controlling movement and access. Was this a society that valued order above all else? Or were these measures designed to protect something more important, a sacred space, a ruling elite, or even a central power structure? Despite years of study and excavation, the true purpose and meaning behind Zambul's fortifications remain elusive. Was it a military stronghold, a political center, a religious sanctuary, or something else entirely? The sheer complexity of its design suggests a society with a high degree of organization and sophistication. Yet, as with so many ancient mysteries, the answers to these questions remain hidden beneath the stones waiting to be uncovered. Zambul's fortifications stand as a reminder of a people, long forgotten, whose carefully planned and highly organized settlement continues to challenge our understanding of ancient societies. What motivated the people of Zambul to create such an intricate and imposing structure? Was it solely a response to external threats, or did it represent something deeper? A desire to control, to protect, or to signify something greater than mere survival? The logic of Zambul's design may never be fully understood, but its mystery invites us to continue searching, to keep questioning, and to wonder what else might lie hidden beneath the surface of this ancient fortification. As we move deeper into the heart of the ancient world, we come to one of the most mysterious and enigmatic sites on Earth, Pumapunku, located in the highlands of Bolivia. Sitting at over 12,000 feet above sea level in the region known as the Andes, this megalithic complex presents a puzzle that modern archaeology is still struggling to solve. Unlike many other ancient ruins, the site is defined not just by its size or layout, but by its extraordinary and perplexing tool marks, which seem to defy the technological understanding of the time. Pumapunku is part of the larger Tiwanaku archaeological complex, a site that has long been associated with the advanced civilization that flourished in the Andean highlands. Thousands of years ago, the sheer scale of the site with its giant stone blocks perfectly shaped and meticulously placed raises immediate questions. Some of the stones at Pumapunku weigh over 100 tons, and many of them have been cut and shaped with such precision that even today, with all of our modern tools, we struggle to replicate the craftsmanship. The quality of the stonework is astounding. Sharp edges, perfectly square corners, and smooth polished surfaces that seem almost too perfect for a civilization that existed as far back as 500 BC to 600 AD. At first glance, the site might appear to be simply a collection of stone ruins, but closer inspection reveals something far more puzzling. What catches the eye immediately are the intricate and unusual tool marks on the stones themselves. Many of the stones at Pumapunku have been cut with an accuracy that borders on the impossible. The tool marks, ranging from deep, straight grooves to strange, perfectly circular indentations, suggest a level of craftsmanship that was well beyond the capabilities of the time. But how did the builders of Pumapunku manage to shape and carve these massive stones with such precision? One of the most perplexing features of Pumapunku is the presence of these tool marks on granite and andite, stones, materials that are notoriously difficult to work with. While some scholars argue that the Tiwanaku civilization had advanced techniques for carving stone, others are left scratching their heads. The sheer difficulty of working with these stones, coupled with the sophisticated tool marks found on them, raises the question: Did the Tiwanaku have access to technology or knowledge that we have yet to uncover? Could they have used a type of tool or method that has been lost to time? Mainstream archaeology suggests that the Tiwanaku civilization used simple stone tools, like hammers and chisels, to carve their blocks. But the precision of the cuts seems to defy these explanations. Some of the cuts are so precise, it's as though they were made with a laser-like technology, something far beyond what would have been possible using rudimentary tools. Even more puzzling are the perfectly circular holes drilled into the stones. How could such a technique have been achieved without modern machinery? Was it a lost technology, one that we have yet to rediscover? Adding to the mystery are the enigmatic geometric shapes that adorn the stones. Many of the stones at Pamapunku have been shaped into complex forms, including T-shaped doorways and angular blocks with perfectly aligned corners. The fact that these shapes seem to follow a uniform design across the site is no accident. Some researchers speculate that the stonework at Pamapunku was part of a grand architectural plan, one that may have had cosmological or religious significance. Did the precision of the stonework at Pamapunku reflect an advanced understanding of geometry and astronomy? Was the site constructed in alignment with celestial events, such as the solstices or the movement of the stars? One theory suggests that the precision seen at Pamapunku could be the result of advanced knowledge of sound frequency or vibration. Some researchers believe that ancient civilizations may have been able to harness sound waves or vibrations to soften or manipulate stone, allowing them to carve it with precision. This theory posits that the builders of Pumapunku could have used sound waves to shape the stone, a method that would explain both the precision and the unusual nature of the tool marks. While this idea may seem far-fetched to some, there are elements of Pumapunku that continue to defy conventional explanations. The stones at the site are not only remarkable for their size and shape, but also for the way they seem to interlock with each other. Some of the blocks fit together so tightly that it's almost impossible to insert a piece of paper between them. How could such tight and precise construction have been achieved without the use of modern tools or techniques? Adding to the intrigue is the fact that many of the stones at Pamapunku appear to have been deliberately cut to interlock with one another. Some of the blocks have perfectly matching notches and recesses as though they were designed to fit together like a puzzle. This level of precision is rarely seen in ancient stonework and suggests that the builders had a highly developed understanding of engineering and construction. But perhaps the most intriguing question is who built Pumapunku and why? The site's location, high in the Andes, suggests it may have been a ceremonial center, a place for religious rituals or astronomical observations. However, the complexity of the stonework and the sheer scale of the site hint at a much larger purpose, one that may have involved a highly organized and technologically advanced society. Was Pumapunku a place of great power and influence in the ancient world? Could it have been the capital of an ancient civilization that we have yet to fully understand? Despite decades of research and numerous theories, the true purpose of Pamapunku and the methods used to construct it remain a mystery. The tool marks on the stones continue to baffle experts, and the precision of the stonework raises more questions than answers. Was Pamapunku built by an ancient civilization with advanced technology, or is there another explanation altogether? Could the site be evidence of a lost civilization with knowledge and tools that we have yet to rediscover? Perhaps the answer lies buried beneath the ruins, waiting to be uncovered. Perhaps the truth about Pumapunku will reveal itself in time as we continue to explore the mysteries of our ancient past. Until then, we can only wonder what other secrets may lie hidden in the stones of Pumapunku, secrets that may one day change our understanding of human history and the true capabilities of ancient civilizations. Nestled in the remote hills of Southeastern Turkey, a site of profound significance, quietly awaits those who seek to understand the mysteries of human history. Gebsip, often described as the world's oldest known temple complex, stands as a testament to an ancient civilization that existed long before the rise of writing, agriculture, or cities. Discovered in the 1990s, this enigmatic site has sparked debates and reshaped our understanding of the Neolithic era. But one aspect of Göbekli, its backfilled layers, remains a perplexing puzzle, an anomaly that invites both intrigue and speculation. Göbeklit's massive stone pillars, some weighing as much as 20 tons, stand upright in carefully constructed circles, their intricate carvings depicting animals, symbols, and abstract shapes that seem to transcend the understanding of the time. The site's purpose has been a matter of much debate, with mainstream theories suggesting that it served as a center for religious or ritual activities, possibly as a sanctuary for early hunter-gatherers. But the site's true meaning, its connection to the people who built it, remains elusive. And as researchers have continued to excavate the site, one feature has remained particularly puzzling: the backfill layers that cover parts of the complex. These backfilled layers are a feature that sets Göbekli apart from other archaeological sites. While most ancient structures are buried due to natural processes like erosion or abandonment, Gebsip was intentionally filled in, deliberately covered with earth and rubble. This practice occurred long after the site was built, and the reasoning behind it remains one of the site's most enduring mysteries. Why would the builders of such an impressive and carefully constructed site intentionally bury it? What was the purpose of sealing off this monumental place? And why was it done at multiple levels of the site? The backfill layers cover a significant portion of Göbekli, particularly around the central enclosures, where the most intricate carvings and largest pillars are found. It appears that after the complex was constructed and in use for an unknown period of time, the entire site was intentionally buried. This act was not a simple abandonment. It was a deliberate planned process. Some researchers suggest that the site was intentionally closed for reasons yet to be determined. Could it have been an attempt to preserve the sacredness of the space? Or was it done to mark the end of a particular era? A ritualistic conclusion, or perhaps a deliberate erasure of its purpose? Mainstream archaeologists tend to view the backfilling as a sign of the site's abandonment and symbolic closure. It's possible that the people who constructed Göbekli felt the need to seal away the sacred site to protect it or to prevent access by future generations. But why go to such lengths? Why cover a site that appears to have had great religious or ritual significance? And why was this done on multiple occasions, with layers of earth and rubble being deposited over time? Another theory suggests that the backfilling might have been an effort to protect the site from environmental changes or other threats. Perhaps after its ritual use had ended, the site was deliberately sealed to shield it from the elements, to preserve its integrity, or to conceal it from invaders or future generations. This might have been a cultural or religious act to reclaim the space or to create a boundary between the sacred and the mundane. Could it also reflect a broader cultural practice, one that was linked to cycles of destruction and rebirth, where such rituals were seen as necessary for the preservation of the spiritual world? As researchers have explored the site, another question has emerged. Could the backfilling process be tied to the collapse or transformation of the society that built Göbekli? Was this action part of a broader societal shift? Perhaps the decline or radical change in religious practices, or the rise of new cultural or political structures. Some researchers speculate that the backfilling could mark a deliberate break from the past, an attempt to sever ties with a once revered center of power and religious activity. Could the site have been abandoned in the face of new religious ideologies or changes in the social order, leading to the site's burial as a symbolic act of closure? There are also more speculative theories surrounding the backfilling of Göbekli Leap. Some have suggested that the intentional burial could be related to astronomical or cosmic events. Could the builders have felt that a specific time or celestial alignment marked the need to bury the site as if to preserve it for a future generation? Was this act a way of preserving the knowledge contained within the site? Or perhaps an act of ritualistic closure that reflected a broader understanding of the cycles of time, nature, and the cosmos? Could the backfilling have been tied to an esoteric understanding of the universe, one that we may still be only beginning to comprehend? The backfilled layers at Göbekli are not just a physical feature of the site. They are a cultural and historical enigma, one that invites deeper reflection on the meaning and purpose of the site itself. They represent a deliberate act of closure, an intentional decision to conceal what was once so carefully constructed. What does this tell us about the people who built this site? What were they trying to preserve, protect, or hide? And why was this process repeated over time in a way that suggests a cyclical pattern rather than a single event? Göbekli stands as a monument to ancient human achievement, a place that continues to baffle archaeologists and historians. The backfilled layers are but one aspect of the site's many mysteries, yet they are perhaps the most tantalizing. They suggest that the people of Göbekli were not merely building a structure. They were engaging in a complex, deliberate, and symbolic act of transformation, one that transcends the physical construction of stone and into the realms of cultural, religious, and philosophical thought. The questions surrounding the backfilled layers remain unanswered, and the answers we seek may never fully emerge. But as we continue to explore and examine this ancient site, we are reminded that there are still mysteries buried beneath the surface of our past. Mysteries that continue to challenge our understanding of human history and the ways in which our ancestors interacted with the world around them. What might we still be missing? What other secrets does Göbekli hold, waiting to be uncovered by future generations? The enigma of its backfilled layers is a reminder that the past is often more complex and enigmatic than we can imagine. The past is often more complex and enigmatic than we can imagine. Amidst the lush rolling hills of Sichuan province in southwestern China lies an archaeological site that has baffled researchers for decades, Xijing Dui. The site, which dates back to around 1200 BC, has yielded some of the most extraordinary artifacts ever uncovered in ancient China. But none are more enigmatic than the gold masks. These haunting otherworldly faces sculpted from sheets of gold have sparked intrigue and speculation, raising more questions than answers about the civilization that created them. What do these masks tell us about the mysterious people of Xijing Dui, and why were they crafted with such care and detail? The Xijing Dui site, first excavated in the 1980s, is located near the city of Guanghan. Over the years, a treasure trove of artifacts has emerged from the soil, including bronze vessels, jade ornaments, and gold jewelry. But it is the gold masks with their distinctive features and size that have captured the most attention. These masks are striking not only for their craftsmanship, but also for their sheer otherness. Unlike anything seen in other ancient Chinese cultures, the masks bear exaggerated, almost alien-like facial features. Large eyes, pronounced cheekbones, and exaggerated facial expressions give them an otherworldly, surreal quality. Their eerie, staring gaze seems to transcend time and space, evoking a sense of mystery that is both unsettling and compelling. What is most remarkable about these gold masks is their size. Some are quite large, measuring over 30 centimeters in width. The masks were made from thin sheets of gold, carefully hammered and shaped into intricate facial features. The craftsmanship is extraordinary, and the materials used are significant. Gold was a rare and precious material in ancient China, indicating that the masks had a special, perhaps sacred purpose. But what purpose could these masks have served? Were they ceremonial items perhaps used in rituals or as symbols of power? Or were they part of a more personal spiritual practice? The answers remain unclear, and the mystery surrounding their creation only deepens as more masks and related artifacts are unearthed. Some researchers suggest that the masks were used in religious or shamanistic ceremonies. The exaggerated, almost grotesque facial features could be symbolic of deities or spiritual beings. In ancient cultures, masks were often used to represent gods, ancestors, or supernatural forces, and these masks may have served a similar role. Could they have been worn by priests or shamans during rituals intended to connect with the divine or to invoke the power of the gods? The larger-than-life eyes and bold expressions might have been designed to convey a sense of power and otherworldliness, enhancing the wearer's connection to the spiritual realm. The question of who created these masks is equally puzzling. The people of Sang-Sing Dui were part of an ancient civilization, but little is known about their identity or their relationship to the broader cultures of ancient China. Singing Dui flourished during the Shu Kingdom period, but there is no clear evidence linking the site to any known historical Chinese dynasties. The sophistication of the Sanging Dui culture suggests they were an advanced society with a deep understanding of metallurgy, art, and spirituality. Yet, their unique artistic style so different from the art of the Shang or Zhou dynasties raises the possibility that Sang-Sing Dui was a distinct, perhaps isolated civilization. Could this civilization have had contact with other ancient cultures? Some have speculated that the Sang-Sing Dui people may have had trade or cultural exchanges with distant lands, but there is no conclusive evidence to support this theory. Adding to the intrigue is the fact that the Sang-Sing Dui site was abandoned around 300 BC, and its ruins were deliberately buried in a series of pits, similar to the mysterious backfilling of Gebesip in Turkey. Why would an advanced civilization abandon such a rich site and leave behind such valuable artifacts? Was it a sudden catastrophic event that led to the site's abandonment? Or was it a gradual decline? The gold masks, along with the other artifacts, were left behind in these pits, as though deliberately hidden or sealed away from the world. What could have prompted this act of burial? And what was the fate of the people who created them? Some theories suggest that the Sang-Sing Dui culture may have been affected by a natural disaster or external invasion. The fact that the site was so suddenly abandoned has led to speculation about a cataclysmic event, perhaps a flood, earthquake, or even an invasion by neighboring tribes. Others propose a more spiritual or religious reason for the abandonment, suggesting that the people of Sang-Sing Dui might have felt a need to close the site and its rituals, possibly due to a change in their religious or social beliefs. There are also more speculative theories surrounding the Sang Dui masks, some of which venture into the realm of the extraordinary. Could the masks represent evidence of contact with other more advanced civilizations? Some fringe theorists suggest that the elaborate craftsmanship of the masks and the advanced metallurgy used in their creation point to a lost civilization, one that may have possessed knowledge or technology far beyond what we associate with the ancient world. Could the Sang-Sing Dui people have had knowledge of a higher order or even extraterrestrial influences? While such ideas are not widely accepted by mainstream scholars, they continue to circulate in popular discourse, fueled by the remarkable nature of the artifacts. Whatever the truth may be, the Sang Dui gold masks remain a powerful symbol of a lost culture. Their haunting, enigmatic faces challenge our understanding of ancient China and the civilizations that once thrived there. These masks are more than just artifacts. They are a window into a world that may have been radically different from anything we know. a world of rituals, beliefs, and artistic expression that we can only begin to understand. What secrets do these masks hold? What did the people of Sang Sing Dui believe, and why did they go to such lengths to craft these extraordinary objects? As researchers continue to excavate the site and analyze the artifacts, new discoveries may eventually shed light on the true purpose and significance of the gold masks. Until then, they remain one of the most tantalizing mysteries of ancient history. Their haunting faces staring out from the past, silently awaiting the answers that may lie just beyond our reach. The story of Sun Sing Dui, like so many ancient mysteries, remains unfinished, with its secrets hidden beneath the earth, waiting for the right moment to be revealed. However, there is no clear evidence of any mass migration to another location, leaving this theory somewhat speculative. In recent years, some researchers have proposed that the climate may have played a more significant role in the city's decline. The evidence for this theory is circumstantial, but it is intriguing. Saigalas, located in a relatively arid region, relied heavily on an intricate water supply system that included cisterns, aqueducts, and fountains. While the city's water infrastructure is remarkably well preserved, there is evidence to suggest that changes in the climate could have disrupted the water supply. Some studies suggest that the region may have experienced prolonged droughts or shifts in rainfall patterns during the time of the city's abandonment. If the water supply became unreliable, it could have led to a collapse in the local economy and forced the inhabitants to abandon their homes. Yet, while all of these explanations are plausible to some extent, they still do not fully account for the rapidity and completeness of the abandonment. The city, after all, was not destroyed by fire or warfare. Its inhabitants simply left. But why were they driven out by fear of an imminent threat that never materialized? Or did they leave willingly, perhaps in search of a better future elsewhere? If so, why leave such a well-established city with such impressive infrastructure behind? There are more speculative theories that add an additional layer of mystery to the story of Sagalassos' abandonment. Some have suggested that the city may have been abandoned due to a religious or spiritual upheaval. Could the people of Sagalassos, once deeply entrenched in Roman religious practices, have experienced a profound shift in belief systems? The spread of Christianity across the Roman Empire during the 4th and 5th centuries was a time of religious transformation, and it's possible that the residents of Sagalassos were caught up in this cultural and spiritual upheaval. The idea that Sagalassos was abandoned due to a mass conversion or a crisis of faith remains speculative, but it raises interesting questions about the role of religion in shaping the fate of ancient cities. The mystery of Avishari Bayer shifting questions and shaping the fate of ancient cities. The mystery of Avishara's interesting questions about the role of religion in shaping the fate of ancient cities. Sagalassos' sudden abandonment remains unresolved, leaving archaeologists with more questions than answers. As excavations continue and new discoveries are made, perhaps more evidence will surface to shed light on this enigmatic chapter in history. Until then, the ruins of Sagalassos remain a silent testament to the complexity of the ancient world. A Kale, world where cities could rise to greatness and fall into ruin, leaving only fragments of their stories behind for future generations to uncover. What drove the people of Sagalassos to leave? Was it war, disaster, or a shift in belief? Or is there still another explanation, one that is yet to be uncovered? The answers may lie beneath the earth, waiting to be discovered. But for now, the mystery endures. As the excavations continue to unearth more of Sagalassos, the story of its rise and fall offers valuable insights into the complexities of ancient civilizations. Each new finding, whether it's a fragment of pottery or a piece of architecture, provides a glimpse into the lives of the people who once called this city home. The meticulous work of archaeologists uncovers the layers of history embedded in the site, offering a better understanding of the technological advancements and cultural achievements that once defined the city. With every discovery, the past becomes a little clearer. Though the ultimate reason for the city's abandonment still remains elusive, the enduring mystery of Sagalassos serves as a reminder of the fragility of civilizations and the fleeting nature of human achievement. While the ruins may seem silent now, they once resonated with life, culture, and innovation. The public baths, aqueducts, and fountains are testaments to the city's once thriving infrastructure and its people's mastery of engineering. Yet, as time moves on, it becomes apparent that even the most powerful cities can disappear in the blink of an eye, leaving behind only traces of their former glory. This sudden and unexplained abandonment continues to puzzle historians and archaeologists alike, who are left with more questions than answers. Perhaps the answer to what caused Sagalassos' abandonment will one day surface, revealing another layer to the ever-compelling story of this ancient city. For now, the ruins of Sagalassos remain a captivating enigma, holding secrets that continue to spark the curiosity of those who explore its ancient streets. The city's abandonment, whether caused by war, disaster, or a more profound shift in its cultural and spiritual landscape, adds to the allure of its mystery. Until these answers emerge, Sagalassos will remain an evocative testament to the complexity and vulnerability of human civilization, inviting generations to uncover the secrets hidden beneath its stone ruins. Beneath the waves of the Bass Strait, off the southern coast of Australia, a hidden world waits to be discovered. This body of water stretching between Tasmania and the Australian mainland has long been a place of mystery for explorers, researchers, and locals alike. Yet beneath its surface, a far deeper mystery lies, one that has intrigued archaeologists and historians for decades. The enigmatic stone structures that seem to have been intentionally placed beneath the waters of the Bass Strait. In recent years, researchers have unearthed intriguing evidence suggesting that large stone formations in this region are not the result of natural erosion or geological processes, but rather the handiwork of human hands. These submerged structures, often found on the seabed in scattered clusters, consist of large, meticulously arranged stones. Some resemble platforms, while others appear to form geometric patterns or even resemble walls or staircases. The precise nature of these formations has been the subject of intense debate, with some proposing that they are remnants of an ancient civilization, while others argue that they could be the result of natural phenomena, or even the work of indigenous people with a deep understanding of the land and sea. The mystery of the Bass Strait stone structures dates back at least to the early 19th century, when European settlers first began exploring the coastline of Tasmania. Early accounts mentioned odd underwater formations, but it wasn't until the 1970s, when advances in sonar technology allowed for more precise mapping of the seafloor, that the true extent of the submerged structures became apparent as sonar scans of the Bass Strait revealed large, regular formations of stones. The question arose, what could have caused such precise human-made structures to exist under the water? Many scholars and researchers have proposed that these structures could be remnants of an ancient civilization that once lived in the region, predating modern indigenous cultures. According to this theory, the Bass Strait may have once been a land bridge connecting Tasmania to the Australian mainland. Around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, the rise in sea levels at the end of the last ice age could have submerged the land bridge, leaving these structures, along with other possible signs of ancient human activity, beneath the waters. If these structures were indeed constructed by humans, what did they serve as? Some theories suggest they were used for ceremonial purposes, perhaps as part of an ancient religious or spiritual site. The arrangements of stones with their geometric patterns might have been designed to align with celestial bodies or natural phenomena similar to the way Stonehenge in England is thought to have been constructed. Other researchers have posited that the stone structures could have had a more practical function, perhaps as early forms of navigation or fishing technology, meant to guide people through the waters or mark important locations. Yet, as compelling as these theories are, there is little concrete evidence to support them. In fact, much of the debate surrounding the Bass Strait stone structures centers around whether they are truly man-made at all. Some have argued that the formations are the result of natural geological processes, such as the erosion of soft rock into regular shapes. Others point to the possibility that the structures could be the work of indigenous groups who have lived in the region for tens of thousands of years. The indigenous peoples of Tasmania, for instance, have a rich cultural history, and their connection to the land and sea is deeply ingrained in their mythology and traditions. Could the structures be linked to their ancient practices, perhaps serving as markers for fishing grounds or ceremonial spaces? Another compelling aspect of the mystery is the absence of clear documentation or direct evidence linking these stone formations to any specific culture or group of people. Unlike other ancient sites, such as the stone monuments of Europe or the pyramids of Egypt, the Bass Strait structures do not have inscriptions or artifacts that might offer insight into their purpose or creators. The lack of physical evidence has led some scholars to question the validity of the claims altogether, arguing that the formations could simply be the result of natural geological phenomena or the accumulation of rocks over time. However, others are not so quick to dismiss the idea of a human connection. The precision of the stone arrangements, particularly the way they seem to form patterns and align with each other, suggests deliberate human intervention. Some of the formations resemble the kind of megalithic architecture found in other parts of the world, where large stones are carefully placed to create shapes and alignments that hold cultural or spiritual significance. Could these stone structures be part of a forgotten history? A legacy of a civilization that left behind only fragments of its existence? The question of what, if anything, these stone structures signify is further complicated by the fact that much of the area is still unexplored. The Bass Strait is not only difficult to navigate due to its strong currents and deep waters, but the area is also under significant pressure from commercial fishing and underwater mining. These factors, combined with the lack of funding for extensive archaeological research in the region, have made it difficult to fully investigate the mystery. Still, the allure of the Bass Strait stone structures persists with every new discovery, fueling further curiosity and speculation. Some researchers have even suggested that the structures could be evidence of an ancient lost civilization that predated the indigenous cultures of Australia. Could these people have had knowledge of maritime engineering or advanced architecture that was lost to time? Or perhaps the structures could be linked to seafaring peoples from elsewhere in the world who reached the shores of the Bass Strait long before recorded history. These ideas, while speculative, hint at the possibility that the story of human civilization may be far more complex and far-reaching than we currently understand. Another intriguing theory centers on the role of climate change in shaping the fate of these structures. As sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age, could the people who built these stone formations have been forced to abandon their settlements as the land around them disappeared beneath the waves? The gradual submergence of the land would have left these ancient structures as underwater relics awaiting rediscovery thousands of years later. Despite the many theories and ideas, the mystery of the Bass Strait stone structures remains unsolved. As with many ancient mysteries, the lack of definitive evidence only adds to the allure, raising questions about the unknown history of our planet and the people who once inhabited it. Were these stone structures built by a forgotten civilization? Or are they the product of natural forces shaped by the winds and tides over millennia? And if they were built by humans, what purpose did they serve? And why did they disappear? For now, the stone formations lie submerged beneath the waters of the Bass Strait, silent sentinels of a past that may never be fully understood. The mystery of these ancient structures invites us to imagine a history that remains hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. As with many mysteries of the past, the answers may be closer than we think, or perhaps they... As with many mysteries of the past, the answers may be closer than we think, or perhaps they may forever remain beyond our reach. Even as technology advances and underwater exploration becomes more sophisticated, the Bass Strait continues to guard its secrets. Each dive, sonar scan, or remote exploration reveals only fragments of the full picture, leaving more questions than answers. The interplay between nature and human history in this submerged landscape blurs the line between what is possible and what is imagined, reminding us that the story of our past may be far more intricate and enigmatic than textbooks can capture. Ultimately, the stone structures of the Bass Strait challenge our understanding of time, civilization, and human ingenuity. They are reminders that beneath the familiar surfaces of our world, traces of forgotten histories may lie silently, waiting for those curious enough to seek them. Whether products of human hands, natural forces, or a combination of both, these formations invite us to look beyond the ordinary and to consider that much of our world's history remains hidden, still waiting to be discovered. The valley of the fallen star wells lies deep within the arid expanse of the desert, a place often overlooked by passers-by, but quietly holding one of history's most peculiar mysteries. This rugged landscape, barren and desolate, carries with it a sense of isolation that both frightens and intrigues those who venture close. Amid the stretch of sand and stone, the valley is punctuated by a series of wells. Odd, seemingly out of place in such an unforgiving environment. At first glance, these wells appear to be simple, functional constructs. Shallow depressions in the earth lined with weathered stone. The wells would seem to be no more than an ancient relic of a time long forgotten. Yet, as one delves deeper into the history and geography of the area, it becomes apparent that these structures are anything but ordinary. Their purpose, location, and construction raise questions that have plagued researchers for decades. The Valley of the Fallen Star Wells stands not just as an artifact of history, but as a silent enigma with few answers and countless possibilities. What sets the valley apart is not merely the presence of these wells, but their mysterious alignment and peculiar design. While similar wells can be found across many ancient civilizations, what sets this location apart is the scale and precision of the construction, as well as the strange astronomical alignment that some have suggested may be intentional. The wells are positioned in such a way that they seem to mark an intersection of natural forces, a convergence of water, sky, and earth that can't simply be attributed to chance. Some researchers have proposed that the wells may have served as a kind of celestial observatory, ancient markers designed to align with particular stars or constellations. The fact that the wells seem to form a sort of network stretching across the valley in perfect symmetry suggests that they may have been intentionally placed to map out a portion of the night sky. The positioning of these wells, which some believe align with the rising and setting positions of certain stars, has led to speculation that the builders may have had an advanced understanding of celestial movements, possibly using the wells for both practical and ritualistic purposes. But what makes the Valley of the Fallen Star Wells truly intriguing is their connection to local legends, myths, and even the very name of the valley itself. According to some, the wells are said to be the remnants of a fallen star, a relic left behind by a celestial body that once crashed into the earth long ago. Stories abound of a great calamity, of a star falling from the heavens, leaving a scar on the land and giving rise to the wells themselves. These tales passed down through generations suggest that the wells may not just be functional, but also symbolic in nature, connected to an event of cosmic significance in the folklore surrounding the valley. There are tales of an ancient civilization that once inhabited the region, a people said to have possessed extraordinary knowledge of the stars, the land, and the cosmos. Their civilization flourished for centuries before mysteriously disappearing, leaving behind only the wells as evidence of their existence. Some theories suggest that these people were not native to the land at all, but instead came from distant shores, carrying with them advanced knowledge that was lost to time. The question, of course, is why such a civilization would vanish so completely. Theories abound, ranging from natural disasters to warfare, but the most intriguing theory suggests that the fall of civilization was tied to the very celestial event that is said to have created the wells. Did the fall of the star signal the collapse of an ancient order? Or did the wells in some way represent a means of communicating with the cosmos? Could the ancient people of the valley have believed that the wells were gateways, conduits to some greater cosmic power, and that the star itself was an omen, a sign of their impending doom? It is this blend of mythology and reality, of cosmic events and earthly ruins, that makes the Valley of the Fallen Star wells so mysterious. Despite the many excavations and explorations of the area, much of its history remains speculative. Modern archaeology has yet to definitively explain the origin or purpose of these wells. Some suggest that they were simply places where ancient peoples would have drawn water, while others believe they may have had far more complex uses, perhaps even ritualistic, meant for sacrifices or spiritual ceremonies. As time passes and further investigations are carried out, the Valley of the Fallen Star wells becomes an increasingly captivating puzzle. The more researchers study the alignment of the wells and their potential connection to celestial bodies, the more they speculate about the purpose behind such a complex and carefully arranged site. Were these wells simply a product of practicality designed to collect water in an arid landscape? Or were they something far more significant? The possibility that these ancient structures were connected to astronomical knowledge suggests that the people who built them possessed a level of understanding far beyond what we typically attribute to ancient civilizations. Could these wells have served as markers for an ancient calendar, or perhaps as a cosmic map, guiding the inhabitants through the passage of time and the movements of the stars? In addition to their celestial significance, the legends surrounding the wells continue to fuel the mystery of the valley. Tales of a fallen star, a cosmic event that forever altered the land, raise intriguing possibilities about the connection between celestial phenomena and earthly events. The idea that these wells may have been the result of such a cataclysmic event hints at a greater, more profound history than we currently comprehend. The mythology surrounding the valley suggests that the builders may have seen the stars fall as a divine sign, an omen that foretold the fall of their civilization. Could the wells then have been an attempt to harness the power of this cosmic event, perhaps as a way to communicate with the heavens or to tap into an ancient otherworldly energy? The mystery of the Valley of the Fallen Star wells also raises questions about the civilization that constructed them. Who were these people, and why did they disappear so suddenly? The absence of written records or physical evidence of their culture makes it difficult to form definitive conclusions. Were they an isolated group with advanced knowledge of astronomy and energy? Or did they belong to a larger, more widespread civilization that left no other trace? Theories abound, but the fact remains that the wells may be the only tangible reminder of this lost people. standing as silent witnesses to a civilization whose secrets are still waiting to be uncovered. As technology continues to advance and researchers refine their methods of exploration, the hope remains that we will one day uncover the full story of the Valley of the Fallen Star Wells. For now, these ancient structures continue to stand, untouched by time, yet steeped in mystery, inviting those who seek answers to look deeper into the sands of history. Each discovery, each new theory brings us one step closer to understanding the true significance of the wells and the people who once called this desolate valley home. Until then, the silence of the valley holds the stories of a forgotten time, waiting patiently to be discovered by those brave enough to unearth its secrets.